Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome to the Steve Malzberg Show. Glad you're aboard. Very busy day today as closing arguments are underway in the George Zimmerman murder trial down in Sanford, Florida. The prosecution right now in a bit of a recess. They're going to resume any minute with their closing arguments. The defense will present theirs tomorrow, and the jury could get this case tomorrow or the day after at the latest. Joining us now, I'm very happy to say, is a man whose analysis and coverage of not only this trial but other trials I've admired by watching him on CNN, where he is a legal analyst. Paul Callan joins us. Hey, Paul, how are you?
Oh, nice being with you today.
Well, it's my pleasure. Okay, very busy day. Let's start going backwards. And before we get to some of the rulings the judge made earlier today, before the prosecution started its closing arguments, let's talk about Bernie de la Rianda and the first part of his closing statements. And basically, I guess you could sum it up in saying that he has portrayed George Zimmerman as an angry vigilante, a man who had an agenda, a man who had a gun and was going to take care of things and set out to do what he did, and started it and followed him, and basically bad guy through and through.
Absolutely. He's characterized Zimmerman as, Charles Bronson gone bad, just waiting in his SUV for someone to cross his path, and he knew he was packing heat. And when he saw Trayvon Martin, who he misperceived as a bad guy, he was ready to hunt him down and kill him. De la Rianda gave, I thought, he's in the middle of a very forceful, very effective opening statement, or closing statement, I should say, to the jury. It's actually the opening part of the closing statement.
Yeah.
It's in two parts. They get to go twice, the prosecutors in Florida. The defense will go next, and then the prosecutors get to rebut.
Right, at the end of that. All right, so let's talk about some of this. He actually said the crime started when George Zimmerman started profiling. Now, earlier the judge had said that she will not allow the jury to hear or to be told, and correct me if I'm wrong, even the defense can't do this. They cannot hear that following someone is not against the law. Am I correct that the defense can't even do that in their closing arguments? And is this going to be a major issue in an appeal if, in fact, it comes to that?
Well, I'm not so sure that the defense would be barred from arguing that it is not against the law to follow someone. They certainly are allowed to argue that. What the judge said, the defense requested that Judge Nelson tell the jury that it's not a crime to follow somebody. If you walk 10 or 15 or 20 feet behind somebody, but you're not touching them or provoking them in any way, that's not a crime. And they wanted an instruction to the jury that it was not a crime. But prosecutors, of course, are claiming that this act of following Trayvon Martin was provocative and constituted what the lawyers like to call initial aggression. And if you're the initial aggressor, then you lose your right to claim self-defense. And so that the following part of it's a big, big part of the prosecution case. So that was a blow to the defense that the judge wasn't going to tell him, hey, it's not a crime to follow somebody. And by the way, it's not. So the lawyers are going to argue both sides of that, and jurors will decide it based on common sense.
Okay, so the defense can present it, but the judge will not instruct the jury as to that point.
That's right.
Also, earlier today, the judge did allow in an alternate verdict of manslaughter, which could carry a 30-year prison term. She finally ruled that she was not going to allow in kind of a surprise option that the prosecution had wanted, which the defense seems taken aback by, and that would be a third-degree murder and on the basis of child abuse.
Yeah, that one was a blockbuster. Out of the blue, prosecutors say, we want you to charge that this was a murder that took place in the course of child abuse. It's really a bizarre theory, but if the judge had bought into it, it really would have changed the entire theory of the case into something different. I mean, here's the theory. The theory is that punching a kid who's under the age of 18 is an act of child abuse. And since during the course of punching and fighting with him, a killing occurred, then that's what we call felony murder, that during the course of a felony you kill somebody, and that causes a higher sentence. But I think the judge quite rightfully said, boy, that's a real stretch. I'm not going to submit that to the jury. So in the end, she was only going to submit 2 counts, murder and manslaughter.
We're talking to Paul Callan here, the CNN legal analyst on the Steve Malzberg Show. Let me ask you this. Is the jury aware of the penalty for manslaughter? Will they know going in that if they take what they consider to be the lesser of 2 charges, he could still get 30 years in prison?
You know, that's a great question, Steve, and I think probably 90% of people assume the jury knows the implications of what a conviction will mean, and they don't. As a matter of fact, they're never instructed. So they will. This jury might think that they're cutting Zimmerman a big break by coming in with a manslaughter conviction, and in the end, he could wind up with a 30-year sentence, which would be just as bad as being convicted of murder in the second degree. The only time in the criminal law that the jury knows the sentence is when it's a death penalty case. Otherwise, sentencing is strictly left up to the judge, and the jury's just there to make a factual decision as to what crime has been committed.
Based on what you've heard so far in part one of the prosecution's closing arguments, and they're resuming now, that kind of presentation, that kind of accusation, and that also that Trayvon Martin's body provides evidence of Zimmerman's guilt, and the body speaks to you. It says Zimmerman is lying, and everything you've heard so far. Do you have confidence do you believe that? Let me rephrase the question as a non-attorney. Do you believe that the defense in their closing arguments, specifically, I believe Mr. O'Mara, who will give it, can overcome this, and rebut point by point effectively what the jury's now hearing?
Yes, I think O'Mara's a very good lawyer. He's going to tell a very different tale about what happened on that night, and I think in the end he'll prevail and he'll convince this jury. But I have to tell you one thing, Steve. I was listening to it, and it almost makes your stomach churn. You know, if you happen to believe that one person is innocent in the case and another is not, I can just imagine how Zimmerman feels as he is sitting there. Because let me tell you something, you never know what a jury's going to do. And De La Ronda, very experienced guy. He's tried hundreds of cases, a lot of murder cases. He knows how to take facts, weave them together, and make somebody look guilty. And I thought, so far at least, he's doing a very, very good job of making Zimmerman look like a pretty evil character who deserves to be convicted. But the jury has to hear all summations before they make their mind up.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. And let me one final word. Do you believe that there's grounds for an appeal here based on the numerous objections and accusations of the defense, not only against the judge but against the prosecution, if in fact there's a guilty verdict?
I have a very strong feeling here that if there's first of all, I don't think there's any chance of a murder conviction, but if there's a manslaughter conviction, I suspect it would be reversed on appeal, because I don't think there's enough in this record to disprove reasonable doubt, beyond a reasonable doubt, the self-defense claim. And the one thing they can't get by, Steve, is how did Zimmerman's nose get broken at the beginning of this whole altercation? It sounds like Trayvon Martin initiated the assault. And unless you have an explanation for that, how can you say that Zimmerman didn't have the right to defend himself?
Well, Paul, it's like a caller. I was filling in on a radio station in Washington a few weekends ago, and like a caller said, how do we know he didn't run home and have his brother beat him up and then come back to the scene and lie down? So that must be the way. That must be the way it happened. Anyway, Paul, thank you so much. I look forward to speaking to you again, sir.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Take
Always
care.
Nice being with you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Paul Callan, CNN legal analyst. You watch him on CNN. Giving his expert opinion. And Paul has had quite an extensive career. He was a prosecutor in the Son of Sam prosecution here in New York City, and I was the only college accredited reporter for Brooklyn College at the time, the only college reporter allowed in to that hearing. He's also been involved in many other high-profile representations. O.J. Simpson's deceased wife, he represented her estate. Nicole Brown Simpson, and other things as well. Very interesting, though, that he believes a manslaughter conviction would be overturned on appeal. I think that's very, very interesting. Okay, folks, we're going to come back, and I want to tell you why I think the fix has been in this case from day one. From day one, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at Aftershock911.com. Aftershock911.com.
We're in the midst of an obesity epidemic, and I'm not surprised. The statistics on obesity mirror an increasing trend of eating out or ordering in. In fact, some people dine out every night, but eating in restaurants is one of the biggest enemies of your heart. When you're in a restaurant, you don't really know what you're getting, and the calorie counts of many restaurant dishes are astronomical. In fact, some single dishes contain more calories than we should eat in an entire day. Eating in fast food restaurants is even worse. A diet of hamburgers, French fries, and shakes constitutes a fast lane to the emergency room. If you really want to help your heart, get in the habit of cooking simple meals at home. Here are 3 easy tips that will make your food taste better than even the best restaurant. Choose the best fruit in season. Your local farmer's market is a great place to start. It will probably still cost less than that pie you were thinking of buying. Get in the habit of using fresh herbs. You can use them in egg white omelets or dust them on the fish you grill or bake. And for a light dessert, choose a square or 2 of dark chocolate that you and your spouse can enjoy. There are lots of ways to make your heart healthy, but there are also lots of ways to damage it. That's why I wrote Fix It, Dr. Crandall's 90-day program. In it, I'll tell you how to kickstart your metabolism every day, how to pick the best diet for you, how to stop hunger from sabotaging your diet, the 7 superfoods for your heart. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute.
150 million people suffer from headaches. All you want is for the pounding in your head to stop. Migralex stops the pounding. Migralex was developed by a neurologist and founder of the New York Headache Center.
I'm neurologist Dr. Alex Malzberg. After studying and researching the human brain for 25 years, I've developed Migralex, which eliminates pounding headaches. It works for my patients, and I'm so convinced it will work for you. I don't just guarantee it, I put my name on it.
Dr. Malzberg's Migralex gets rid of headaches fast without harsh caffeine, sodium, or preservatives.
Migralex works unbelievably fast, and it's gentle on my stomach.
Find out how to get your free bottle of Migralex. Call 800-532-2967. Plus, if you're one of the first 100 callers, you'll also receive the Migralex Quick Tips to Headache Relief absolutely free. That's 800-532-2967. Or go to migralexrelief.com. MIGRALEX relief.com. Or call 800-532-2967.
What is Lignet? Lignet is knowledge. Lignet is power. Lignet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is Lignet? Lignet is confidential. Lignet is sensitive. Lignet is security. What is Lignet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on Lignet.com. You've been briefed.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
What's been reported, though, is that the guy forgot his keys, jimmied his way to get into the house. There was a report called into the police station that there might be a burglary taking place. So far, so good, right? I mean, if I was trying to jigger into, well, I guess this is my house now, so it probably wouldn't happen. But let's say my old house in Chicago. Here I'd get shot.
All right, you know, sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, during the course of putting a show together, you screw up. And I screwed up. Welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. That was Barack Obama. That was supposed to come a little later in my presentation. That was back when, remember the Henry Gates incident? When the police in Cambridge, Massachusetts went into Henry Gates' home, college professor, African-American, and arrested him and then later dropped the charges. That was Barack Obama beginning his comments on that, where he eventually called the police stupid or said they acted stupidly. I didn't mean to do that. What I meant to do was, first of all, give you Barack Obama talking about how if he had a son, he would look like Trayvon. And I'm not sure. Okay, let's go to cut 37. I don't know. This might be it. This might not be it. Let's try cut 37.
I can only imagine what these parents are going through. And when I think about this boy, I think about my own kids. And you know, I think every parent in America should be able to understand why it is absolutely imperative that we investigate every aspect of this, and that everybody pulls together, federal, state, and local, to figure out exactly how this tragedy happened.
I think we know that by now. That was President Obama in the Rose Garden shortly after the shooting of Trayvon Martin, or actually once Al Sharpton made light of it, after the Justice Department had gone down there in support of protests by anti-Zimmerman protesters. And we're going to talk about that with Judicial Watch at the bottom of this hour. They have found out through a FOIA request what the Justice Department was and what their involvement was in anti-Zimmerman protests down in Florida. So you're not going to want to miss that. But Barack Obama wading in where he has no idea, trying to prejudice a case when he has no clue, no idea. Here's cut number 38.
I'm glad that not only is the Justice Department looking into it, I understand now that the governor of the state of Florida has formed a task force to investigate what's taking place. I think all of us have to do some soul searching to figure out how does something like this happen. And that means that we examine the laws and the context for what happened, as well as the specifics of the incident.
Okay. All right, Mr. Law Enforcement Chief, Mr. Chief Enforcer. You got it. And then he made this remark, this disgusting, despicable, vile remark, in my view. And here it is. And you tell me what this is all about if it's not spelled R-A-C-E, cut 39.
But my main message is to the parents of Trayvon Martin. You know, if I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon.
If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon? Really? Really? Or he'd be black? Is that what you mean? Is that how you think Trayvon looked? Black? Did he not have facial features? Did he not have height? Did he not have weight? Did he not have eyes? Did he not have, distinguishing characteristics? You mean he looked like you, Mr. President? Or you mean he would look like you insofar as skin color? If I had a son like Trayvon, he would look like me. What does that mean? It means Trayvon is black. And so what does that mean? He was shot by a Hispanic claiming self-defense. But leave it to President Divider to turn it into a racial issue, as he did the police investigation. Let's go to cut 42, a continuation of the mistake I made earlier. The president, speaking at a press conference, asked about the Henry Gates Cambridge police situation. White cop, black college professor, admits, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. But, hit it.
I don't know, not having been there and not seeing all the facts, what role race played in that. But I think it's fair to say, number one, any of us would be pretty angry. Number two, that the Cambridge police acted stupidly in arresting somebody when there was already proof that they were in their own home.
All right. I wasn't there. I don't know what happened. So, I don't know how much of a role race played in it. Of course, it had to play a role, right? Because race plays a role in everything. To President Divider, who would have had a son who looked just like Trayvon if he had had a son. Why? Because did Trayvon look like him? No, Trayvon was black. That's where it begins, that's where it ends. But in his mind, he would have looked like me. So every white-skinned person here looks like me, right? Ridiculous, obscene for a president of the United States to speak that way. And now, I don't know I wasn't there. I don't know all the facts. But the Cambridge police acted stupidly. That he knows. Why does he know that? Because they questioned a black man in his house, and it was a white cop. Now, does he know? He says he wasn't there. Does he know all the circumstances at that point? Did he know what the professor said to the police officer that prompted the disorderly conduct arrest? Of course not. But the Cambridge police acted stupidly because a white cop arrested a black man in his own home. And according to Chief Law Enforcement Officer Barack Obama, he's also the chief medical doctor of the country, in case you didn't know that, and everything else. There's no way it could be anything but stupid racism if you dare arrest a man for disorderly conduct in his own home, which is ridiculous on its face. So the fix was in on this case, and we're going to tell you just how much the fix was in on the Zimmerman case when we come back, because what has been found out from a FOIA request is amazing. The extent that the Justice Department has backed the anti-Zimmerman movement is disgusting. And it could happen to any one of us in this country under this administration on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
My patients still don't know what Obamacare means for them. And how could they? There are already 13,000 pages of regulations, and the bureaucrats are just getting started. Obamacare will change your health care, and you need to understand how. There are hidden taxes and fines, big cuts in Medicare, even new regulations on what services doctors can offer you. Some businesses could get hit with a 40% additional tax on your health care plan. Please, get the Obamacare Survival Guide today. It's the best book explaining the new law. It's easy to read, everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere.
Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
Hi, this is Dick Morris. Obamacare is taking full effect this year with over 15,000 pages of regulations. You need to know how this law affects you. That's why you should get your copy of Obamacare's Survival Guide. It's easy to read and the best guide to the new law. Even if you're currently insured or a senior on Medicare or a business owner, a medical professional, or really any citizen, you need the Obamacare Survival Guide. In it, you'll find about hidden taxes, fees, and fines, including a 40% tax on some health plans. I warned you about Obamacare. It's rationing, Medicare cuts, and will trigger doctor shortages. Now the Obamacare Survival Guide gives you the simple steps to protect your family. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. It's already a #1 Amazon bestseller. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 today by going to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com.
Obamacare. President Obama's massive health care law is taking effect this year. With over 15,000 pages of regulations, few even know what it means. Now, the Obamacare Survival Guide by Nick Tate gives you the shocking facts about this law. It's a step-by-step guide on how you can protect yourself. Already the New York Times bestseller, every American needs to get the Obamacare Survival Guide and find out about the new taxes, hidden fees, fines, Medicare changes, business rules, and why doctor shortages are likely. Donald Trump says the Obamacare Survival Guide is a must-read for anyone worried about getting good health care for themselves or their employees. So get the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's at bookstores, or get our special offer at Obamacare911.com, and you'll save $15. Go now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number, 1-855-625-MY-TV. The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $19.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows. Pause and rewind live TV. Even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $19.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card. Call 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV. Cancel the cable, cut costs, and get more. 1-855-625-MY-TV. 1-855-625-MY-TV.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
Now, I know that many of you are greatly and rightly concerned about the recent shooting death of 17-year-old Trayvon Martin, a young man whose future has been lost to the ages. As most of you know, 3 weeks ago, the Department of Justice launched an investigation into this incident, which remains open at this time and prevents me from talking in detail about this matter. However, I can tell you that in recent weeks, Justice Department officials, including Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Rights Division, Tom Perez, and the United States Attorney for the Middle District of Florida, Robert O'Neill, have traveled to Sanford, Florida, to meet with the Martin family, the community, and local authorities. The FBI is assisting local law enforcement officials, and representatives from the Community Relations Service, the Justice Department's peacemakers, are continuing to meet with civil rights leaders, law enforcement officers, and area residents to address and to help alleviate community tensions.
All right, folks, that's Eric Holder at the Al Sharpton National Action Network, convention back in 2012, and you heard what he had to say. Joining us now is a man who has had his organization uncover documentation of direct involvement by the Justice Department with regard to anti-Zimmerman protests down in Sanford, Florida. We welcome in Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch president, also happens to be author of the New York Times bestseller, The Corruption Chronicles. Hey, Tom, how are you?
Hey, good to be with you again, Mr. Malzberg.
Always out, please, Steve. Otherwise, I have to call you Mr. Fitton, and I don't really want to do that. No, I'm kidding. But, Steve, please. Okay, so tell us through a FOIA request what Judicial Watch has uncovered.
Well, we uncovered documents from this community relations service that is run by the Justice Department that is criminally investigating Zimmerman, according to the Attorney General, that they were down there organizing protests, and the documents show, and there's a quote, they were seeking reimbursement for one official for being deployed to Sanford to work marches, demonstrations, and rallies related to the shooting and death of an African-American teen by a neighborhood watch captain. Another document, to work marches, demonstrations, and rallies to provide support to protest deployment in Florida. Technical assistance, conciliation, and outside mediation during demonstrations planned in Sanford. Let's be clear here. There were three parties involved. There was the Zimmermans, Mr. Zimmerman. There were the Florida officials, both local and state, who were in a position to prosecute him, and the leftist agitators and protesters that wanted to have him prosecuted. The Justice Department was only dealing with two of the three. Those who wanted him prosecuted and those who were going to prosecute him, and in the end. And the Justice Department's CRS people were down there aiding and abetting these individuals. They arranged a police escort in one instance to bring student protesters into Sanford, who then went on to sit in at the police chief's office. And, of course, after all these protests, what happened? The police chief was fired, or, quote, asked to resign, but he was practically speaking fired. And then Zimmerman himself was indicted. And given the weakness, Steve, of the prosecutor's case, I think both left and right honest commentators are saying, boy, what a weak case this has been thus far. You have to wonder whether the case would have been brought at all, but for the Justice Department's extraordinary intervention and helping to manage, to put it most charitably, these racially over the top demonstrations. I mean, when you got Al Sharpton running things, and the Attorney General kowtowing Al Sharpton, I mean, that shows you where the Justice Department's coming from.
Absolutely, and I want to play another cut, the previous cut. I don't know if we could play the cut before the one we just played, which I believe would be, I don't know what it would be, but it's, probably 45. And this is, this should be Eric Holder, if I'm not mistaken, 46. This should be Eric Holder praising Al Sharpton at that same National Action Network function. Here we go.
Thank you very much, Reverend Al. I appreciate your kind words, and I'm especially grateful for your prayers and for your partnership, your friendship, and also for your tireless efforts to speak out for the voiceless, to stand up for the powerless, and to shine a light on the problems we must solve and the promises that we must fill. It's a privilege to join with you, Reverend Richardson, and with Executive Director Mallory, and so many distinguished religious leaders, elected officials, committed activists, and concerned citizens, and really kicking off the National Action Network's 14th Annual Convention. Now,
all right, that's from CNSNews.com, and I apologize for the poor quality of the audio, but that's how it was. So his affection for Al Sharpton, no secret there. But getting back to exactly what the Justice Department did, he talks about in that speech, the first cut we heard coming out of the break, how the Justice Department sent people down there to investigate. What you found and what you've told us and what you've documented is separate and apart from Justice Department investigators who might go and investigate many crimes to see if there was prosecution warranted or civil rights violations, etc. This was above and beyond. This was specific to supporting anti-Zimmerman protests.
Well, that's right, and those who promoted the idea of Zimmerman being prosecuted are quoted in the local mainstream media down there as saying they were here on our side. And one of the Justice Department officials, we have the audio that is on our website at judicialwatch.org, where he's running one of these so-called community meetings, again, with those who want Zimmerman prosecuted, and I think the Sanford city manager ultimately fired the police chief that finally led to the prosecution of Zimmerman himself. And the Justice Department, quote, mediator says if the black community thinks there's a problem, I don't know if this is an exact quote, but it's close enough. If the black community thinks there's a problem, then there's a problem.
Yeah, no, very, very, very frank.
Well, does that sound like a neutral neutral take? That sounds like Al Sharpton talking.
Absolutely, and you know what? There's nothing neutral about this Justice Department, and we've heard that from people who have worked career Justice Department employees when it comes to race matters. We're talking to Tom Fitton, Judicial Watch president, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Let me ask you this, and I'm just asking your opinion, obviously. If there's an acquittal in the Zimmerman trial, certainly, I would believe, legally speaking, the door is still open for the Justice Department to pursue him with civil rights violations. And do you believe that would be the case?
Well, I don't know, because I would be very worried if I were Mr. Zimmerman, because we've also asked for documents from the Justice Department Civil Rights Division, and we've gotten back saying, the proverbial hand to the face, saying, no, these are documents created for law enforcement purposes. So it seems like there has been, at least at one point, an active investigation. And, given the racial extremism of this president and this Justice Department, notably Mr. Holder and his Civil Rights Division, it wouldn't surprise me. I would be, if I were betting, I'd bet they would try to do something, yes.
Yeah, especially to quell what unfortunately, almost universally, experts, especially down in Sanford, Florida, and many others around the country, are predicting will be a horrific reaction on the streets of Sanford, of Miami, and possibly of other cities around the country. So, like you say, I wouldn't want to be George Zimmerman in any way, shape, or form with this Justice Department and with this state prosecution, which is obviously politically motivated. People like Alan Dershowitz have called for the removal of the person who brought these charges in the first place. And Paul Callan just told us, Paul Callan, I'm sorry, CNN legal analyst, just before you came on, Tom, told us that if there is a manslaughter conviction, he believes that that will be overturned on appeal because they just don't have the evidence to maintain that conviction under appeal. So it's just a prosecution that should never have been brought. And I'm seeing how this jury might come back with manslaughter because the jury does not know that could result in a 30-year prison sentence. They're not told that. So I just fear for George Zimmerman. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, the problem that Zimmerman has is that something terrible went wrong. And Zimmerman may be guilty of some misjudgments in terms of, my view is if you see someone suspicious, you call the police and leave it be, unless there's an evident imminent harm to body, limb, or property. But that all being said, what happened that led to the shooting, he may be innocent of the charges, that's for sure, and it doesn't look like they have a case otherwise. It's a terrible situation, but of course the Justice Department comes in, and this is what the local police initially thought, well, we can't really have a prosecution here. That's why there was no initial arrest.
Right, no evidence.
And then the Justice Department comes in, and here in Washington, Steve, we say the Justice Department, it doesn't scare people because they know what it's about. But if you're a local official and the Justice Department flies down, like Perez did, and then the peacekeepers show up and say, you need to meet with these people to help mediate, that's a hammer coming down.
And maybe, and if you don't do this, we will put a overseer on your department, and we will investigate your department for corruption, for this, for that. We'll look at every case you've ever prosecuted or didn't prosecute. We'll find racial discrimination. I mean, very easily ways to scare. Hey, Tom, so just one other question. You going to keep pursuing those other documents, or is that a dead end?
It may potentially result in a lawsuit, and hopefully the public interest now in what the Justice Department is doing, there'll be other public pressure and pressure from Congress to get more information about just what the heck the Justice Department was up to there. You may want Zimmerman to go to jail forever, but we might all agree that the Justice Department probably shouldn't involve itself in what was going on down there and bussing people in or allowing people to be bussed in and helping them be bussed
Unbelievable.
in.
Tom, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Tom Fitton, ladies and gentlemen, Judicial Watch president, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. And I got to say, only in Obama's America, with Eric Holder as Attorney General, could this be possible. And media, not only that they're not silent on this, and they're not silent on what Holder did, they applaud it. They would be outraged if it didn't happen. That's how dangerous this country is becoming. And we should have known it from the get-go when a Black Panther Party member at the polls in 2008 stood there with a billy club or whatever in his hand, and the Bush Justice Department was prosecuting him, and Holder and Obama come in and dismiss the charges. We should have known right then and there that justice would not be colorblind anymore in this country. We're coming back, and we're going to talk to a man who's very unique. He is a very prominent Tea Party. He's the executive director of the Richmond Tea Party. He wants to disband the IRS, but he's also a pilot. And he's going to weigh in on a cultural issue with regard to South Korea and how a cultural issue that the South Koreans follow and adhere to could have played a part in the plane crash last Saturday in San Francisco. So we use multi-talented, multifaceted guests right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Accurate portrayal of potential customer experience. Your experience will vary.
I was overwhelmed with credit card debt, losing sleep, worrying about money all the time. Creditors were hounding me night and day, and I didn't think there was any way I could ever get out of debt or get my life back. Then a friend told me about the Financial Solutions Group, and I found out all it took to get started was one free call. They really helped me get my life back. If you're like I was, you could see almost half or more of your credit card balances eliminated without the nightmare of bankruptcy or attorney's fees. And they didn't charge me any settlement fees till they reduced my debt. If you have more than $10,000 in credit card debt, this is your chance to get your life back. Make one quick free call today, right now, to see if you qualify. 1-800-477-6802. That's 1-800-477-6802. Again, 1-800-477-6802. 1-800-477-6802.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now. 800-574-6029. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now, before it's too late. Call Wall & Associates right now to speak to a professional tax relief agent. Call 800-574-6029. That's 800-574-6029. Again, 800-574-6029.
Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price by going now to Obamacare911.com. Obamacare911.com. That's Obamacare911.com. Hi, this is Mike Reagan. Folks ask me, what would Ronald Reagan do if he were with us today? I believe the first thing he'd do is stop Obamacare. Already it's in effect with higher taxes, hidden fees, skyrocketing insurance rates, big Medicare cuts, and some insurance plans are hit with a 40% tax. Protect yourself by getting the Obamacare Survival Guide. It's already a #1 New York Times bestseller. Newsmax says it's the best guide to the new law, giving you the strategies, tips, and loopholes you need to know. If you're insured on Medicare, a business owner, a medical professional, just about anyone, you need this book. Get the #1 bestseller, The Obamacare Survival Guide, at bookstores everywhere. Or get our special $4.95 offer and save $15 off the cover price.
Scroll down now to claim your copy of Obamacare Survival Guide for the special internet offer of only $4.95.
This is the worst weather we've seen in quite some time, folks, and I don't see any end in sight. People have been calling in from across the state complaining their basements are flooding. One guy said he now has an indoor swimming pool in his basement. I told him he needs the waterproofing innovations from Basement Systems. If you want a dry basement or crawl space that will weather any kind of storm, you need the patented solutions from Basement Systems. You've seen them on home makeover shows throughout the country. With a lifetime warranty, every solution is custom designed for your basement. You can finally have that room you've always wanted with our total basement finishing system. Call now for a free estimate, and you'll never have to worry about storms like these again.
Call now for your free basement inspection at 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794. Learn how to waterproof your basement now. Call this number, 800-516-9794, 800-516-9794.
The Steve Malzberg Show is just a bit different from the other radio shows. We have TV cameras. Watch the show at Newsmax.com or listen on your favorite radio station. Here's Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, by the way, as we welcome you back, there's a new way starting today that you could listen to and watch the so-called Steve Malzberg Show. Now, really, if you have an iPhone, and right now, only if you have an iPhone. If you have an iPhone, go to the App Store and get the Newsmax TV app. The Newsmax TV app. And I just saw it. I just saw the whole thing. It looks pretty darn good. You could watch the show, listen to the show right on your iPhone with your own Newsmax TV app if you have an iPhone. So do that today. If you don't have an iPhone and you want to get the radio app, our great affiliate in Atlanta, go to www.newstalk1160.com, newstalk1160.com, and that's 1160, newstalk1160.com, and they have a link there on the website that you could listen to the show, but you could also get a station app, and then at the appropriate time, 3 to 6 Eastern time, you could listen to me on that app. So we're making progress. And, of course, we're on Newsmax TV and XM Radio, and I hope you're all tuned in. Well, if you're listening to me, you're tuned in. Okay, joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, Larry Nordvig. And, Larry, welcome.
Hi, thanks, Steve. Good to be with you.
Executive Director of the Richmond Tea Party, and you also happen to be an airline pilot.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm an airline pilot by trade. I was a naval aviator before that, and now I'm sitting in the chair of the executive director spot for the Richmond Tea Party in Virginia.
I am proud to have you on all fronts, sir. Really, I mean that. And I want to talk about two things with you.
Sure.
One, the plane crash on Saturday at San Francisco Airport, the Korean airline, and then we'll get to your organization's call for the abolishment of the IRS, which I think is more popular today than ever. The call for the abolishment, not the organization, of course. All right, so let's talk about the cultural issue, if we can. I've heard many reports that the cultural etiquettes, if you will, of South Korean society do not allow necessarily for the sense of urgency that might be necessary in a situation such as the one that took place in San Francisco, an emergency situation where every second matters, where your voice needs to be raised, where even if you're speaking to an elder, you could shout, you could appear disrespectful because of the urgency of the situation, the life or death nature of it, and that South Korean protocol, etiquette, culture kind of puts a limit on that. Is that a legitimate concern?
I would say it is a legitimate concern, speaking as one who, not only as a pilot, but I actually went to South Korea and Japan when I was in the Navy for a time, and there is a cultural difference. They have much more respect for their elders, and rank, social status plays a bigger part in personal relationships over there. So I can see that definitely coming into the cockpit.
And what I mean, is this something that's been talked about among pilots or aviation people at all?
Well, a little bit. You know, for a pilot in a cockpit, if you're the pilot not flying, because the captain and the first officer in the right seat switch off usually every other leg or some sort of system like that, so you don't have the same person landing all the time. And basically, if you see them off, let's say 10 knots of airspeed or 50 feet of altitude on approach, whatever your company decides are the limits or the FAA decides, you call that out immediately. And if they're not responding, you can try a second time to call it out. But after that, it's I have the aircraft, and you literally take over from the other pilot.
Right. Yeah, very interesting and something to keep an eye on, and I think that warrants more discussion. Okay, now let's talk in the time we have left, Larry, about the Richmond Tea Party and your call for the abolishment of the IRS. Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Well, how are you going about hoping to accomplish this?
Well, for one thing, I've been into Majority Leader Eric Cantor's office a couple times in the last month or two. He's been very gracious to ask me up to his office to talk about this when I've been in Washington for the congressional hearings on the IRS scandal.
Of course, he's from Virginia.
Yeah, he is from the Richmond area.
Yep.
He's kind of north of the James River, mostly here. So he's a local guy for us. The bottom line is we can't trust the IRS for taxes or Obamacare or really anything else right now. It's just too big, too bureaucratic, too intrusive. It's being used as a political weapon. It's obvious. And, really, they're attempting to use the IRS to destroy America as we know it. So my stand is very simple. We have to get rid of the IRS. It's just completely beyond repair. Therefore, one of the only tax alternatives to that right now that does abolish the IRS is the fair tax, and that's why I think we ought to take a strong look at that.
Okay, and the fair tax, of course, one of the criticisms of that is deductions would go by the wayside, including the home mortgage interest deduction. Can you allay the concerns of people who might have those fears?
I sure can. Imagine, if you're in the audience right now, imagine, if you will, April 15th rolls around and it's just another spring day. You pay no tax on that day at all. There's no paperwork to do. There's no income tax. There's no payroll tax. There's no IRS. Nobody will ever come to your door and audit you. There's no business tax. Basically, you pay all of your taxes at the cash register, and you don't need mortgage deductions and child care credits, et cetera, because you get to keep every penny of your paycheck.
Right.
So if you make $50,000, you get $50,000 handed to you. It actually turns out to be quite a bit more money than just a measly
I would assume so. All right, listen, Larry, I want to have you back. I'm up against a hard break. We've been very busy with the Zimmerman trial, but I thank you for your expertise on both areas. And if people want to go to your website for the Richmond Tea Party?
Yeah, let's go to richmondteaparty.com.
All right.
You can contact me through there if you need to.
You got it. Larry Nordvig. Thank you very much. We'll speak to you again. Folks, when we come back, we'll have more legal analysis on the Zimmerman trial. They're in closing arguments. The prosecution is. And we will also talk about Elliot Spitzer and how the media has been covering that on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Hey guys, do you know your testosterone level? You should. Each year, declining testosterone robs more of your energy, drive, motivation, and even your ability to perform in bed. Take control of your testosterone today. Write this number down because Progene, the leader in dual-action testosterone supplements, is now giving you a free supply if you call today at 800-592-4834. If you'd like to feel closer to 20 than 40 and get back that energy, drive, and confidence, call now to try Progene risk-free. Don't believe us? We'll even prove it works. Ask about our at-home testosterone test kits and see for yourself what Progene can do for you. Be one of the next 100 callers. We'll triple your order and send you a full 1-month supply of Progene for free. A $70 value for only the cost of shipping and handling. Call 800-592-4834 for details. Know your level and kick your drive back into gear with Progene. Call 800-592-4834. That's 800-592-4834. Again, 800-592-4834.
Drug, alcohol, and gambling addiction can be devastating for you and your loved ones. Don't let the disease of addiction ruin everything you've worked so hard for. The Treatment Helpline has helped thousands of people just like you take control of their addictions and live healthier, cleaner, and happier lives. You are not alone. Now there's hope. The Treatment Helpline has helped people just like you overcome their addiction. If you or a loved one is suffering from a drug, alcohol, or gambling addiction, let us help you today. Call 1-800-813-9821. Our seasoned addiction treatment professionals can show you how to use your private health insurance to help cover the costs of this life-changing program. Call now and get a free confidential consultation. 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821. Help is only a phone call away. Call 1-800-813-9821. That's 1-800-813-9821.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. After a 2.5-hour closed-door meeting, House Republicans can at least agree on a few things. when it comes to immigration reform. While hundreds of people rallied outside the Capitol for immigration reform, GOP leaders made it clear that they will not take up the Senate's bill, and security on the border is their main priority.
Comprehensive has always been a swear word in the House of Representatives, but I think having a step-by-step approach that deals with the issue comprehensively, I don't think that's dead.
However, they are still split over what to do with the 11 million illegal immigrants already in this country, with some Republicans saying citizenship should be barred for anyone who has broken the law. The first votes on immigration reform in the House are not expected until September. Meanwhile, GOP members say they will not bring the bill up for a vote unless the majority of the party can come to an agreement. And passengers aboard Asiana Flight 214 frantically called for help after that plane made a crash landing, and some people complained about waiting up to 30 minutes for emergency crews to respond. According to investigators, the pilot at the controls of the plane said he was temporarily blinded by a flash of light right before that crash, but the source of that light has not been determined. Also, we learned that the pilot initially told flight attendants to keep everyone seated, and the evacuation did not start until 90 seconds after the crash had happened as fire spread through the cabin. Well, the hearing only lasted about 10 minutes, but there was no shortage of drama in Boston. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev appeared in court Wednesday with a bandage on his arm and signs of injuries to his face. He pleaded not guilty to 30 federal charges, including using a weapon of mass destruction to kill. And for the first time at this hearing, he also came face to face with many of the victims.
He just showed no remorse. It looked like he smirked at everybody, and he just, just had a carefree attitude, like nothing.
Prosecutors claim that Dzhokhar Tsarnaev and his older brother Tamerlan detonated those homemade bombs that killed 3 people and wounded more than 260 others at the finish line of the Boston Marathon. The Tsarnaevs are also accused of killing MIT officer Sean Collier while they were on the run. Tamerlan died during a shootout with police. And former South African President Nelson Mandela remains in critical but stable condition and is responding to treatment. That's according to current President Jacob Zuma after he visited with the anti-apartheid hero yesterday. Mandela has been struggling with a reoccurring lung infection. Zuma urged the nation to continue to hope and pray for Mandela's recovery. And coming up next on your Newsmax Now update, a new report reveals stunning and strange details about 9/11 mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, what the CIA had to do to keep him from going mad. Plus a Newsmax exclusive with Congressman Diane Black on what she thinks might be the real reason behind the White House decision to delay a key portion of Obamacare. That's next.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at AftershockVideo.com. AftershockVideo.com.
Attention, if you've been classified as a high-risk driver due to DUI, DWI, or tickets for aggressive driving and are required to get expensive and hard-to-find SR22 auto insurance, then you must listen to this message because we can help. We're the largest insurance company in the U.S., specializing in SR22 auto insurance and focused on serving the needs of customers classified by the state as high-risk drivers. We help people get back on their feet by providing easy-to-get, low-cost SR22 insurance that anyone can afford. If you need SR22 auto insurance, or if you have it now and are paying too much, you need to call us today for your free quote at 800-836-4606. Our specialists are standing by waiting for your call. We understand people make mistakes, and we're here to help by making SR22 insurance easy to get and affordable for everyone. The call and quote are free. Call us now at 800-836-4606. That's 800-836-4606. Again, 800-836-4606.
Obamacare. More than $1 trillion in new costs. Hidden taxes, fees, big Medicare cuts, doctor shortages. How can we survive?
To know Obamacare is to survive Obamacare. The Obamacare Survival Guide tells you everything you need to know to protect yourself, your family, your business. The Obamacare Survival Guide at bookstores everywhere. Special internet-only offer right now at Obamacare911.com.
And And welcome back. A new report reveals strange new details about the capture and interrogation of self-proclaimed 9/11 mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. According to the British newspaper The Telegraph, the al-Qaeda leader was allowed to redesign a vacuum cleaner in between CIA interrogation sessions at a secret prison in Romania a decade ago. A source says the CIA did this to keep KSM from going mad. The report also reveals that KSM is apparently a huge Harry Potter fan. And during a Newsmax exclusive with Representative Diane Black, a member of the House Ways and Means Committee, we discussed the decision by the White House to delay a key provision of Obamacare. Black suggests there might be other reasons for the delay besides what the White House is telling us.
I don't know what his true motivation is. All I can tell you is that in the past, he has indicated that he wanted a single-payer system.
And to see more of our exclusive interviews and content, stay with Newsmax.com. This has been your Newsmax Now update for July the 11th. I'm John Bachman. Now here's the Steve Malzberg Show.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, we are here. Welcome back. Steve Malzberg with you. We don't have any guests this half hour. So if you want to weigh in on the Trayvon Martin case, I would love to hear from you. Or if you want to weigh in on what I'm going to talk about in a second, and that's some of the things that Michael Schmerkanish has said about Elliot Spitzer and prostitution. You got to hear this. You're going to fall off your chair. But here's the number. Become familiar with it. You should know it by now. I hope you know it by now. And by the way, you folks driving on XM, listening on XM, this show is going away from the XM channel you're listening to it on. I mean, the show is going to be here. You could listen. You could watch it on Newsmax.com and click on the show and watch it on TV. You could hear it at if you're in Atlanta, of course, News Talk 1160, or get the app at newstalk1160.com. But if you're used to listening to this on XM, you're going to have to find an alternative the end of August, because that through no fault of our own, this show is not going to be on XM anymore after the end of August. So if you have an iPhone, go to the App Store and get Newsmax TV, and you could hear it and watch it. And if you just have a regular phone and you want to download an app, go to our affiliate in Atlanta, News Talk 1160, newstalk1160.com. On their page, you could download an app for the station, and you could listen to the show that way. Okay, I don't want to lose any of you great listeners on XM Radio. 855-777-9660, 855-777-9660 if you want to weigh in. But first of all, Michael Schmerkanish on MSNBC. Michael Schmerkanish is a guy... He's one of these guys that these radio consultants who have to justify their existence by telling the world, oh, radio is too mean. Oh, nobody wants to hear that. Oh, you have to be fun. And the radio, no one wants to hear Obama, and no one wants to hear this, and no one wants to hear that. And that's how they get paid. And that's what radio consultants do, okay? And Michael Schmerkanish was called by so many radio consultants, he's a genius. Why? Because he's not to the left, and he's not to the right, you see. He's just right down the middle. He has no political bent. He's Michael Schmerkanish. He's above me. He's above Rush. He's above all of us. He just is right straight down the middle, and nobody could be right straight down the middle. So that's a false premise to begin with. Plus, when I was at WOR, Michael Schmerkanish's show was carried on our station on tape delay, and he came on with me once, as other radio hosts who had shows on our station did, and he debated me. We were debating some issue. He never came on again. And what I had heard was, I'm not going to be a foil for Steve Malzberg. You mean Michael Schmerkanish, attorney? Michael Schmerkanish couldn't handle himself with me? He was going to be my foil? Nobody asked him to be my foil. Let's have a debate on an issue or two. No, that ended that. So there was no more Michael Schmerkanish on the Steve Malzberg show on WOR because he didn't want to come on with me anymore. I was respectful to him. I don't even remember what we debated, but we debated? No. You see, if you debate, you're forced to take a side, and that's all beneath Michael Smerconish. You understand? Okay. Now, with that in mind, here's Cut 18. This is Smerconish filling in on Hardball the other day, interviewing Elliot Spitzer. Give a listen. I'm sorry. No, 18. It says 18 right here.
Former governor and now candidate Elliot Spitzer joins me now. Governor, does running now mean that resigning was unwarranted? Would a Spitzer victory mark the end of the sex scandal as we know it? And I'm asking, really, have we become too intrusive into our elected officials and candidates' private lives?
Look, I'm not sure I'm the right person to ask because I have a perspective that is so tailored to what I have been through.
If you're a competent guy, and I think Elliot Spitzer's a competent guy, then beyond the schadenfreude, what business is it really of ours?
Well, I like hearing that, but again, I think I'm not the one in the right position to embrace it and say, aha, you're right and you're wrong.
So Michael Smerconish is sitting there with Elliot Spitzer, who broke the law, who helped make the law as Attorney General and Governor of New York State, where Johns, who frequented, thank you, prostitutes, were criminalized. I mean, it was always against the law, but he cracked down on them. He went after Johns. He went after prostitution rings. And then it turns out he was frequenting prostitutes and taking them out of state and paying for them through shady financial transactions so the money wouldn't be shown. And Michael Smerconish says, are we too intrusive into our politicians' personal lives? This is not about his personal life. This is about being a hypocrite, thinking you're above the law, and being a criminal, even though he was never prosecuted. So don't tell me Michael Smerconish has no bent. Are you kidding me? If you're elected, does that end the sex scandal? Does that mean you should not have resigned? Yeah, no, he should have stayed in office. You know, breaking the law, he should have remained as governor. Are you kidding, Michael? Now, I would ask you that in person, but you wouldn't come on with me. I know that from the past. You've got to be kidding me. I mean, come on. Now, maybe there's a method to Michael Smerconish's madness, because yesterday on Hardball, 2 days ago on Hardball, which I guess would be one day after we interviewed Spitzer, or maybe the same day, I don't know. Listen to what Michael Smerconish had to say about Elliot Spitzer and prostitution in general. We have several cuts here. Brace yourself for the man who is neither left nor right. He's right down the middle. By the way, have you ever seen Michael Smerconish smile? I mean, say what you will about me. I got a sense of humor, baby, and I know it. And I smile. You know, when I'm not yelling with passion. It's not always out of anger. It's out of frustration. It's out of passion. It's heartfelt. Have you ever seen Michael Smerconish even blink? It's like a robot. Anyway, here's cut 25.
Yesterday, Elliot Spitzer was my guest right here. I told him that when he cheated on his wife with a hooker, his wife should have thrown his clothes into Central Park. But as far as the public was concerned, it was really none of our business. He violated the law. That wasn't right. But we should have an adult conversation about the laws that he violated. I would argue that it's time to bring the world's oldest profession above board in communities willing to allow it, clean up the trade, clamp down on exploitation. Let government share in their revenue, but otherwise stay out of the private affairs of consenting adults.
It's not the private affairs of consenting adults when it's illegal. And you see, it's illegal. Okay, so it's not the private affairs of consenting adults. And again, to in any way relate this to Spitzer, who was not a private a citizen, a consenting adult, a private, it wasn't a private affair. When you're a governor, or you're a man who makes the laws and enforces the laws and goes after men who frequent prostitutes, that time I was able to say frequent prostitutes without any problem. Anyway, and then you are caught with a hooker, and it turns out you have been breaking your own laws, if in effect, How is that none of our business? So Shmerkanish wants to change the law, I guess. And here's cut 26.
Alan Dershowitz once taught Elliot Spitzer at Harvard Law, and Spitzer worked for him as a research assistant on the Klaus von Bülow case. With regard to the investigation, Dershowitz once told me, quote, they used 5,000 wiretaps, they intercepted 6,000 emails. Every hour spent on going after prostitution is an hour that could have been spent on going after terrorists and going after people who victimize. Which is not to say that Spitzer shouldn't have emerged from his escapades unscathed, but the discipline that should have been meted out in a case like this should have come from within his own family.
There was no discipline, Mr. Shmerkanish. There was no discipline. He resigned. He resigned on his own and then gave us the accidental governor, Governor Patterson, who at his inaugural press conference, I believe it was, told us about how he cheated on his wife and his wife cheated on him and how he used to use drugs. I understand we have a few calls at 855-777-9660. We'll get to them in the next segment, so just hang on. So there was no punishment meted out. He wasn't prosecuted. There was no, he resigned. He wasn't put in jail. And let's go to cut number 27. Oh, well then let's go to cut 28.
There's another argument in support of legalizing prostitution. Some among us are never going to find companionship for a variety of reasons, and their solitary existence is accentuated by the constant barrage of sexual stimulation that we see every day on television and billboards, in our mailboxes, and in the form of fashion catalogs. It can't be healthy for some people to feel the amassed pressure of such images and have their personal expectations go unfulfilled. Yesterday, when I asked Spitzer whether he believed we should legalize prostitution, he demurred. I won't. We should.
Are you following this? Michael Shmerkanish is basically saying, for various personal reasons, some people will never, let me be dignified and say it this way, will never have sexual intercourse for various personal reasons. So why should we deny them the opportunity to pay for it? Given the world in which we live, where fashion catalogs, I guess, are a temptation to Michael Shmerkanish. Fashion catalogs, Michael? Fashion catalogs? It reminds me of a Seinfeld episode where George Costanza was not master of his own domain. And it was a, not Good Housekeeping. What magazine was it that he was caught by his mother? Glamour. Glamour magazine. He succumbed to temptation from Glamour magazine. So Michael Shmerkanish is saying we live in a sexualized world of like internet porn and X-rated movies and fashion magazines. And why should we deny men who, for whatever personal reason, will never be able to have sexual relations on their own in a quote-unquote normal fashion, why should we deny them the opportunity to pay for sex? Michael, wow. I mean, that's I don't even know how to respond to that. But someone who sits there with a former governor who has broken the law, faces no legal ramifications, and apologizes for him and says, I'm sorry that we intruded into your life. It should be between you and your wife. And then comes out with this cockamamie justification for legalizing prostitution, and he claims he's right down the middle? I got a line, but in the interest of me keeping my job, I'll shut up. You want to weigh in on this as well? We'll take some phone calls when we come back. 855-777-9660. Steve Malzberg on The Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
3 a.m. and you're up again for the third time. It's not just affecting your sleep, it's interrupting your daily life. Frequent trips to the bathroom due to an aging prostate is a common concern, but you can now do something about it with Prostate Revive. Doctor-formulated Prostate Revive is an all-natural dietary supplement packed with 15 powerful ingredients, focused on improving prostate health by targeting the two main sources of prostate concerns, rogue testosterone and inflammation. And now, in this limited time radio offer, you can try Prostate Revive absolutely free. That's a free bottle, a 30-day supply of Prostate Revive, risk-free. Plus, if you call right now, you'll also receive our free report, A Doctor's Guide to a Healthy Prostate. Call now for details on getting your free bottle, plus our doctor's report. Call 1-800-659-REVIVE. That's 1-800-659-REVIVE. Don't be a victim of an aging prostate. Start getting the sleep you need and get your life back with Prostate Revive. Claim your risk-free bottle now at 1-800-659-REVIVE.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today. In this free offer, we are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
Breaking news and breaking hearts. Aww. This is the Steve Malzberg Show.
In elective office, a high office like governor of New York could do that involved law breaking and lying to the public that you would consider as a voter disqualifying, where nothing's disqualifying if a person comes back and says, look what I've done for the last 5 years, look at my great ideas, or are there things that are disqualifying? Like what?
Sure there are. I mean, I think there's...
What would be disqualifying?
I think there is a difference between private and public lives, and I'm not the one to begin to articulate this distinction at this point, because I'm in a uniquely bad position to try to articulate it. Right. But I think there is a divide there that is something we do want to think about at a certain point in time.
All right, we're back on the Steve Malzberg Show. I wanted to play you Mark Halpern, from Morning Joe earlier in the week, I think on Monday. And Mark Halpern, in contrast to Michael Schmerkanish, actually goes after Eliot Spitzer a little. Like he just asked Eliot Spitzer, and this is something I used to ask on the air during the impeachment of Bill Clinton when people would say it's his personal life. And I said, well, okay, it wasn't his personal life. He lied to a federal grand jury. It's a crime. It's perjury. I said, so I would say to these people, what crime would you say that you would allow a president to commit and still keep him in office besides this perjury of Bill Clinton committed? So he's asking Mark Halpern, is there any crime that a public official could commit that you would say precludes him from running again? And good for Mark Halpern, but he wasn't finished. Here's cut 21.
But lying as the governor of New York is not disqualifying.
It depends about what. I think we all know that politicians dissemble all the time about negotiations, on substantive issues and probably on personal issues as well. And so it is a question of where, when, how, and on what issue. I think there's slightly greater subtlety to this in terms of the art of both governance and how you then determine whether what people have done.
Basically, he's saying all governors lie. With lying to the people as governor of New York, well, it depends about what. We lie on policy issues all the time. We lie about this, and governors lie about their personal lives. Lie. But here is the question that Michael Schmerkanish didn't dare ask Eliot Spitzer, either because he doesn't believe it's pertinent or he doesn't have the guts to do it. And Mark Halpern, to his credit, on Morning Joe did, and here it is, cut 22.
So is an elected official, governor of New York, comptroller of New York, lying about his or her personal life when asked about it in a public capacity, that's fine?
No, I didn't say it's fine, but you asked if it was disqualifying. And I think that, again, I think we're going down here a path here where it requires more time to really parse out what that boundary is between the private and the public. Now, I'll give you something that's disqualifying. If people lie about their taxes, not having paid their taxes and all the rest, then I think that is disqualifying.
But you lied about illegal activity.
Well, I lied about personal sexual activity, yes, and I did that. I'm not trying to diminish it.
You weren't lying about an affair, a consensual affair. You were lying about illegal activity.
Okay, that's correct.
So, but you're saying that lying about illegal activity to you is not disqualifying.
I will let the public make that determination.
Good for Mark Halpern. He lied about illegal activity, not about a sexual affair. God bless Mark Halpern for having the guts to ask him that, because I haven't seen anybody else in any soundbite I've seen of an interview with Eliot Spitzer say that to his face. What have you learned? How's your family health? How are you different? But you lied about illegal activity, Governor. Illegal activity. That shut him up. We're coming back on the Steve Malzberg Show. You're not shutting me up.
The Steve Malzberg Show. Are you at least 62 years old like me? Could you use an extra $50,000, $100,000 or more to live a better life? Then please consider the benefits a reverse mortgage can provide to you. With a reverse mortgage, you can have your mortgage payments stopped altogether and get equity out of your home to live on. And you can use the money to help you live a better life. How nice would that be, not to have a mortgage payment? Qualifying for a reverse mortgage is simple, since there are no income, asset, employment, or credit requirements. However, you must be 62 years or older, own your home outright, or have a very low balance on the mortgage, and be prepared to live in it throughout the rest of the loan. Call now for more information.
800-831-1560, 800-831-1560, 800-831-1560. That's 800-831-1560. Health insurance is on everybody's mind right now. You either don't have it or you have it and you think it's too expensive. And you probably feel like you don't have any options. We can help. We are InSphere Insurance Solutions. We offer health insurance plans from major carriers nationwide and likely have a plan that can save you money. Whether you're self-employed, on a COBRA plan that's about to expire, or you simply don't have health insurance where you work and you need it, InSphere Insurance Solutions can help you. Our agents will help you find coverage you can afford. InSphere Insurance Solutions is an authorized agency in all 50 states, including the District of Columbia. Plans may not be available in all states. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325. 800-980-9325.
Heart disease is the biggest killer disease in America, and this doesn't surprise me. We are addicted to starches, sugars, fatty meats, and salt. People who live in countries with little heart disease eat very differently. One way some people stay heart healthy is by following what is known as the caveman or Stonehenge diet, so named because of its similarity to the way our prehistoric ancestors ate. People who follow this type of diet live off local fruits and root vegetables and get their protein mostly from fish and wild game they shoot themselves. Now, since most of us don't hunt or fish for all our protein, here are some simple tips on how you can start to eat like a caveman, modern day style. First, fill up on fruits and vegetables. Eat them first and you'll be less hungry. Feast on fish, which is rich in nutrients but not in calories. Choose fatty fish like mackerel, herring, sardines, and salmon, which are rich in heart-healthy omega-3 fatty acids. Get out and go for a walk. Remember, our ancestors were hunters and gatherers, so they didn't spend their time sitting in front of a TV or computer all day. If you live more like a caveman or a cave woman, your heart will love you for it. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thank you for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
Where can you find the Steve Malzberg Show? Everywhere. From your smartphone to satellite radio to Newsmax Live TV to Roku, we have you covered. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back. I just got off the phone with my son who called in with devastating news. The only team I root for anymore, really, the only team that I'm affected by, whether they win or they lose, and I consider myself a true fan of, and you're talking to a guy who grew up loving the Yankees, hating the Mets, loving the Jets, hating the Giants, loving the Islanders. It's still hockey. I'm a huge Devils fan. My son and I both are. Our dog is named Marty, after Martin Brodeur, in an affectionate way, obviously. He just told me that Ilya Kovalchuk is retiring. I mean, Ilya Kovalchuk had like 8 more years left on a $100 million contract. And after a couple of years with the Devils, if this is true, it's been unconfirmed by me, but I'll take my son at his word. He's retiring. Okay, that's neither here nor there, but I'm like, so if I look or sound devastated and flustered and flummoxed, that's the reason. The Devils have just lost one of their biggest threats. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, like I said. All right, I want to get back to the George Zimmerman case. It appears that, yes, it has happened. The prosecution has finished their first closing argument. The defense will do theirs tomorrow, and then the prosecution gets to finish up before the case goes to the jury. Joining us now to talk about the case and the closing arguments and some of the things that have taken place is Lance LaRusso, attorney, former law enforcement officer, and author of the book When Cops Kill. Lance, a pleasure to talk to you, sir. How are you?
Thank you for having me on, Steve.
It's my pleasure. And we should point out that in your role, you represent police officers who use their weapons in a lethal manner during police incidents, correct?
Exactly. Actually, the profits for When Cops Kill are going to support law enforcement charities.
Very good, very good. And is that any of that with New York City at all, cops, or not?
Anywhere. Matter of fact, a lot of it's going to either the Fraternal Order of Police Vest Fund that buys vests for officers don't have them, or huntingforheroes.org, where we take care of law enforcement officers who are disabled in the line of duty.
Well, that's great, and I'm glad you misinterpreted my question, which was my fault. I'm glad to find out where the money's going. But I meant, have you represented any officers in New York City for the PBA or anything that have been involved in shootings at all here in New York at all?
No, I have not.
Okay.
Actually, I grew up in Long Island, but I have not.
There you go. Okay. Oh, so you're probably a Rangers fan if you follow hockey, or an Islander fan for that matter, I guess. But anyway, so I want to talk to you. I don't know if you saw the closing statements by the prosecution, but they did focus on this profiling. George Zimmerman had a gun. He knew he had a gun. He profiled Trayvon Martin. He called him an a-hole, and he called him a blah blah. And he was going to take care of this on his own. And he, he profiled a Trayvon Martin, and he was a wannabe cop. He took a crime course, and he applied to the police force in Virginia. He was a wannabe cop with a gun, with a purpose. You think that's an effective, argument to make in this case?
No, as a matter of fact, I would describe the prosecutor's closing argument as, with one word, loud. It seemed like he started out yelling at the jury and finished up yelling at the jury. And a lot of the issues he was bringing up, obviously we can't see the jury's face, and we shouldn't on television, but I just don't believe that that's going to have a real heavy effect on the jury. They know what the facts are, and they know what they heard. And a lot of it was trying to pull snippets out of videos. I expect what the defense lawyers are going to say, all of those videos, all of those statements, every time he talked to the police, remember, he didn't have to tell them anything. They were completely voluntary.
No, absolutely. And I could ask you the same questions that the defense had asked expert witnesses and police detectives, and they keep saying that George Zimmerman, in the closing arguments, George Zimmerman lied. Oh, I'm sorry. I just went to a website, and it won't... one of these commercials came up, so let me get out of here. But actually, what I was going to talk about was the fact that... all right, let me get out of here. Okay. You hear that? Yeah, everybody hear the free entertainment? I'm trying to do a story on the prosecution's star witness, where apparently in his closing arguments, he also said that he invoked Martin Luther King Jr. in sticking up for Rachel Gentile and the validity of her testimony. And that story apparently had a little link to it that played by itself. So now I don't have the story in front of me. But anyway, and I've lost my train of thought. So I'll give the guest name again, Lance LaRusso, attorney, former law enforcement officer, and author of the book When Cops Kill. Here's what I wanted to say. This profiling issue. To me, Al Sharpton and others have made profiling a dirty word. Profiling now equals racial profiling, and even racial profiling should not be a dirty word or a dirty term. It's a legitimate police tactic, like auto profiling or sexual profiling or gender profiling. If you stop someone just because they're black or Hispanic or white and harass them for no reason, that's harassment. That's illegal. That shouldn't be called racial profiling. Am I correct that profiling of all kinds, including racial, is a legitimate police tactic?
Well, absolutely. It's not just police. It's a legitimate tactic that everyone uses, and I think that's what's getting lost. I set up a lot of neighborhood watch programs when I was working with the police department, and I was the liaison for those programs. And I think what has really been a problem for people is people disagree why George Zimmerman followed or called or surveilled or whatever you want to call it, why he picked up the phone and said to the police, I think this person should be contacted by the police, and I think he's doing something suspicious. That is necessarily a subjective determination. We could put 100 people in a room, and 98 may not agree with him, but the whole purpose of Neighborhood Watch is if you see something that you believe personally, subjectively, is suspicious, call the police.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we're told if you see something, say something as it relates to terrorism or suspicious packages or a suspicious person. And yet when something like this happens, when George Zimmerman sees somebody he doesn't recognize, someone who fits the profile, wearing a hoodie, but he doesn't call the cops and say, hey, there's this black guy. He just says someone's acting suspicious. They had to ask him what the race was. Then he said, I think he's black or he looks black, whatever. But the point being, there were robberies in the neighborhood. He had reason to be suspicious of people he didn't recognize walking around in the rain. This is what he saw.
Well, and he also points something else out that's critical. He says that Trayvon Martin was walking on the grass right in front of a residence and not on the sidewalk. And Steve, look, here's the issue with this case that really all of the other issues have come down to. He was reporting information back to the police. He was doing everything he could to get the police to his location. People intent on committing a crime generally don't do that. But here's the crux of the case. Two essential questions when somebody uses deadly force. Law enforcement, non-law enforcement, this is it. Why did you start shooting? Why did you stop shooting? George Zimmerman, and it's a subjective belief, and a jury's going to have to decide whether it was reasonable, said that he pulled the trigger once because he believed he was his head was being pushed into the pavement. He was going to go unconscious. He said it felt like his head was going to explode. He was experiencing pain. He was being choked with his nose being cut off and his mouth being covered. He fired one shot, but what's critical is he states he believed he missed. That is not uncommon. And when cops kill, I interviewed a lot of officers. People say, why did the officer shoot so many times? So they're shooting to stop the threat. And a lot of times officers do not know that the round they fired was effective. But when George Zimmerman fired that shot and thought he missed, Trayvon Martin, in his words, leaned back and put his hands up and stopped the attack, and George Zimmerman stopped shooting. If he was really intent on killing someone, why did he only pull the trigger once, even though he thought he missed?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then there's this argument, which I don't understand. People who are on the side of Trayvon, or against George Zimmerman, I should say, well, why did, if in fact Zimmerman was yelling, why did the yelling stop after he shot him? And I say, in answer to that, and maybe you have a more expert type of answer, I say, well, wait a minute. Guy's getting his head pounded. He's getting beaten up. He's shouting, and then he shoots the guy. The pounding stops. So he stops, and plus he's in also a state of shock. Those two combined, of course you're going to stop screaming.
Well, it may even be simpler than that, Steve. He may have been catching his breath.
That
you know,
too.
what the expert was talking about, after 30 seconds, we tell people to change their tactics. Even a person who is in excellent physical shape in a full-blown confrontation, physical confrontation, has about 2 minutes of fight left in them. And after 30 seconds, that's why you hear people's voices differently. I've represented officers, and I represented an officer who shot someone who was, quote, unarmed, but he was trying to take the officer's firearm away from him. And in that situation, the officer's voice and pitch went up, the adrenaline hitting their system, they're out of breath. They don't sound necessarily like they do when you and I are having a conversation.
Right, right. And I don't necessarily sound like I'm sounding now when I get excited on the air.
Well,
you know,
I mean, that's true. I mean, it really, and you say that, but you probably have heard yourself on an audio where there was something passionate that was being discussed. Or everybody here has probably heard somebody on a radio or on a phone and then met them and said, boy, they look a lot different than I would have expected them to sound.
Absolutely.
Their voice is not as deep, or it's higher than I thought. Well, when you put stress and adrenaline in there, it becomes a real big issue.
All right, let me ask you, in your experience, when the defense gets up here tomorrow and counters point by point what the prosecution has just said in summation, or in closing arguments, I should say, do you believe that a jury, as it's constituted, as for what we know of the jury, all female, many with children, at least a few gun owners, do you believe that they will be persuaded by the defense?
I think, quite frankly, they will, and I think you have to break that down very quickly. Second-degree murder, I think, is probably out the window. The jury has not heard specific evidence, and in Florida law, the words that they use is a depraved mind regardless of human life.
Right.
I don't think they've heard that. So the question is whether or not they fall back on manslaughter. The third-degree murder charge is essentially a felony murder. You were committing a felony, and a death occurred. I think that's a stretch. If he was in possession of the firearm illegally, or he was in a place he wasn't supposed to be, that might be an issue. But I think the real hurdle for the defense is manslaughter, and I think he stands a pretty good chance of being acquitted.
I think if the jury knew, and they don't, if the jury knew that manslaughter carried a 30-year prison term possibility, they would also say no way. Because I think these people would probably like to be able to send them to jail for like a year or two, if they had their druthers. But I'm just afraid that they might think they have to find him guilty of something, and they only have two choices. Unfortunately, they have two choices. They should have had the one, and then they could have justified saying no, and that would be it. But now they've been given the second choice, the lesser choice, quote unquote. But the lesser choice is really, not all that much better. It could be 30 years, and if they knew that, I think that there's no way they would do it.
Well, you're absolutely right, and the quirk of Florida law is, and it's probably the case in a lot of states, that the manslaughter carries a different penalty, but it has aggravating factors, one by the fact that Trayvon Martin was under 18 at the time he died, and second, that a firearm was involved.
Right.
So it is true. He could actually face a longer prison sentence if he is convicted of manslaughter. But, the reason the juries don't generally know the sentences really has a lot to do with their role should be. And in my experience, juries really try hard to get to the facts and then apply them to the law as it's explained to them by the judge. So if you complicate that by saying any more than you heard the facts, the jury is the fact finder in the case. You heard the facts, you heard the witnesses, you decide what actually happened, and you applied it to this set of laws. Throwing in there the whole mix of penalties really is, first of all, too much, and second, would cause another problem. Because in order to actually sentence somebody, the judge usually will look at the person's criminal history. And the criminal history is, with very, very few exceptions, not within the purview of the jury to know when they're deciding the facts of the case.
Right. Yeah, no, very, very, very true. All right, so we'll see. I look forward to talking to you again. Lance, thank you very much for coming on short notice, sir.
Well, I appreciate if people would like the book. It's available on Amazon.com or WhenCopsKill.com. And, Steve, I enjoy talking with you.
No, yeah, and I just want to follow up on the book now that I'm glad you mentioned it again because, so many times, and the reason I asked you about New York, I mean, we're obviously heard and seen all over the world, but I'm from New York, and I've talked about many cases where cops have used their guns, where right away the public likes to jump on them and convict them. Amadou Diallo case, for instance, and others. So I've talked about many cases, and people don't understand, and I'm sure this is all in the book, and I'm anxious to see it myself. So if you could have I'll talk to Mark, and we'll get a copy over here because I'd love to read it. Police officers are charged with making split-second life or death decisions, and if they hesitate, I mean, the slogan: "I'd rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6."
Well, I'll put it to this way: officers usually have the rest of their life to decide whether to use deadly force. And there's a lot of interviews in this book. One of the interviews is with a retired Special Forces soldier who has seen more than his fair share of combat, and he's also a cop, a retired cop. And he actually told me that in his estimation, it is more stressful to go through an officer-involved shooting as a law enforcement officer than anything he ever did in the military. Because in the military, he expected combat.
Right.
Law enforcement officers are going about their duty in routine calls. Some of them are a little crazy. They're expecting a little bit of a problem. But generally, their adrenaline goes from 0 to my life is in danger within a nanosecond. And that's what When Cops Kill is about. What happens after that? What can they expect? And how do we take care of them after they get through a shooting like this?
Yep. And I'm not surprised that your subject of your interview said that, because in the military, you're expected to kill the person you're confronted with. You're expected to shoot them. There's not an inquiry of a grand jury every time. Not yet. Obama's trying, but you're expected to kill your enemy. But a police officer, and rightfully so, every time they use their lethal force, there's an inquiry, and there should be. But they have the toughest job in the world. All right, Lance, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Steve.
Take care. Lance LaRusso, ladies and gentlemen, or LaRusso, I should say, attorney, former law enforcement officer, and author of the book When Cops Kill. Now, that story, that was bizarre. I click on the story, the link on Drudge, and it takes me to Breitbart, and all of a sudden, I was about to confront or bring up the statement about the story to Lance, and the music or the video on the website starts playing, and I couldn't shut it off. But the prosecutor in the closing arguments apparently said that the witness talking about Rachel Jeantel should be judged not by her color, not by color, personality, but by the content of her testimony. All right, I'll take the content of her testimony. I'll take the fact that she was on the phone with Trayvon Martin, who referred to George Zimmerman as a crazy-ass cracker. That's what I'll take. That race was a factor in this. But it wasn't George Zimmerman who entered race into this. It was Trayvon Martin. I'll believe her, even though she's perjured herself before on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Meet Jim. Like many of us, Jim enjoys a busy life. Between work, family, and friends, his days zip along. And Jim has the energy to tackle almost anything. But lately, Jim's get up and go has literally taken on a new meaning. Jim's always put focus on a full night's sleep, but it seems like these days, he's up and down to go to the bathroom so many times he can barely wake up in the morning. His prostate concerns have him sad, tired, and worried. Activities that were once enjoyable now seem like a chore for Jim. His golf game is at the mercy of his bathroom schedule. Family outings are planned around it too. Jim even has difficulty going to the bathroom. He's tried so many prostate remedies he can't keep them straight, and nothing ever seems to help. Then Jim found out about Prostate Revive, the all-natural dietary supplement specifically formulated for men, targeted towards improving and sustaining normal prostate function. Prostate Revive includes 15 super ingredients never combined before, including saw palmetto extract, beta-cytosterol, pomegranate fruit extract, selenium, and other high-quality nutrients. These targeted and all-natural ingredients promote healthy urinary flow and optimal prostate health. And the best part is, Prostate Revive was developed by a renowned medical doctor. Dr. David Brownstein personally formulated Prostate Revive with one goal in mind: to promote a healthy prostate gland. Thanks to Prostate Revive, Jim's got his life back. He gets a full night's sleep every night, and his friends and his wife can't believe he's the same guy. He has his old energy back, and no one has to wait for him. He doesn't even think about his prostate concerns anymore. Visit MedicSelect.com to take back your nights and improve your quality of life with Prostate Revive.
Judging from everything you hear, you think all cholesterol is bad, but that's not really true. You need a certain amount of cholesterol to maintain good health. The problem is that too much cholesterol in your blood contributes to a plaque, a fatty substance that narrows the coronary arteries that feed blood flow to your heart. Picture your coronary arteries as a 4-lane highway. If one lane becomes blocked, traffic still flows well. 2 lanes, no major problem. But if a 3rd lane becomes blocked, that spells trouble. It's the same way with your coronary arteries. And when plaque slows their blood flow to your heart, this can even cause a heart attack. The good news is that when it comes to cholesterol, lifestyle changes can pay off big time. Even a small reduction in plaque can be like opening up another highway lane. Suddenly, blood flow that was stalled can go forward again. Changing your lifestyle does not have to be hard. And in fact, here are 3 ways to help you start lowering your cholesterol. Snack on nuts. Nuts are probably one of the easiest and tastiest ways to lower cholesterol. Walnuts and almonds are among the best. Bulk up your diet with fiber. Choose whole fruits instead of a fruit juice, brown rice instead of white, and if you're eating a baked potato, be sure to leave the skin on. Choose fish. Fish contains cholesterol-fighting omega-3 fatty acids. I'm Dr. Chauncey Crandall, and thanks for watching this Heart Health Minute. Remember, it's never too late to prevent or reverse heart disease. Right now, I invite you to discover your own risk for heart disease or even a heart attack by taking my quick, free online quiz at www.simplehearttest.com.
I love you, son, so it hurts when you say I hate you. I'm your mother. I'm tired of you disrespecting me when you don't get your way. I work hard to make sure you have everything you need. I should be able to ask you to get out of bed in the morning without a fight. So from now on, things are going to be different. I ordered the Total Transformation Program. We're not going to scream and fight anymore. I'm going to tell you what to do in a different way, and you're going to do it. You're not going to call me ugly names anymore, and if you do, you're going to get consequences that'll keep you from calling me ugly names. We're not going to do things your way anymore, son. We're going to do things the Total Transformation way.
Get the Total Transformation free. Just order the program, tell us how it works for you, and you can keep it for free. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520. Call now. Call 1-888-577-9520. 1-888-577-9520.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream is streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks. Coming up in the next hour, we're going to talk to an amazing young lady, a paralyzed former cheerleader who has a foundation, Dreams of Recovery. And it's a fundraising campaign that she's undertaken that she and Atlanta Braves manager Freddie Gonzalez have started. And we're going to talk about that. If you want to, in advance, go to her website or to the website. It's dreamsofrecovery.org. Dreamsofrecovery.org. And, you know, every so often you come across an inspiring story that you can't wait to share with people, and this is one of them. So we look forward to talking to her. We're also going to talk to our friend Adam Thompson, a defense attorney, later in the next hour about the court proceedings today in the Zimmerman case. The prosecution finishing its part one of their closing arguments. The defense will go tomorrow. Have you heard that? You remember the Boston Strangler? Right? The Boston Strangler in the early 60s was believed to have killed about, I think, 11 women, terrorizing the Boston area for about almost 2 years, over 20 months. And he hunted women who ranged in age from 19 to 85 years old. I mean, that sick doesn't begin to describe the whole thing. Well, authorities have announced that they had recently tested seminal fluid that had been found on the scene of the murder of Mary Sullivan, who was sexually assaulted and strangled to death in January of 1964, and found a near certain match with Albert DeSalvo, the man who confessed to the Boston Strangler murders, but was never convicted of the crimes. This is a fascinating story. Boston police saying today they've linked DNA from the man believed to have been the Boston Strangler to this fluid found in the home of the 19-year-old woman who has long been thought to have been his final murder victim 50 years ago. I mean, DNA evidence is just mind-boggling, totally mind-boggling. All right, big hour ahead. It's Thursday, the Thursday edition of the Steve Malzberg Show. We're going to talk George Zimmerman, and we're going to talk to that wonderful young lady about her organization and what she's doing on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Credit card companies lure you in with low introductory rates or low minimum payments, and before you know it, you owe thousands of dollars in credit card debt. It has happened to millions of good people just like you. But here's the good news. Thanks to a powerful program now approved, anyone with $2,000 or more in credit card debt can cut their credit card payments up to half and even reduce or eliminate interest charges altogether. That's right. Our nationwide nonprofit program is helping U.S. residents cut their credit card payments. Call 800-613-3159 now. The call and information are free. We've helped over 500,000 people with their credit card debt, and now we can help you. Call 800-613-3159 to see how this powerful nonprofit program can work for you. Bad credit card debt happens to good people. Get free of credit card debt today. Call 800-613-3159. That's 800-613-3159. Again, 800-613-3159.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, and you may be forced to watch helplessly as you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, all while your home's value is eradicated. controversial economist Robert Wiedemer believes we will soon stare down a secret crisis that will rival the Great Depression. It was Wiedemer's 2005 book, America's Bubble Economy, that warned of coming meltdowns in our housing and stock markets. Washington did not heed his call, and folks on Main Street lost $50 trillion from the recession. His New York Times best-selling book, Aftershock, predicted our federal debt and dollar would be the next bubbles to burst. And now Robert Wiedemer has released a startling video with shocking evidence the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Join us at Aftershock2013.com. Aftershock2013.com.
Hello and welcome to your Newsmax Now update. I'm John Bachman. After a 2.5-hour closed-door meeting, House Republicans can at least agree on a few things when it comes to immigration reform. While hundreds of people rallied outside the Capitol for immigration reform, GOP leaders made it clear that they will not take up the Senate's bill, and security on the border is their main priority.
Comprehensive has always been a swear word in the House of Representatives, but I think having a step-by-step approach that deals with the issue comprehensively, I don't think that's dead.
However, they are still split over what to do with the 11 million illegal immigrants already in this country, with some Republicans saying citizenship should be barred for anyone who has broken the law. The first votes on immigration reform in the House are not expected until September. Meanwhile, GOP members say they will not bring the bill up for a vote unless the majority of the party can come to an agreement. And passengers aboard Asiana Flight 214 frantically called for help after that plane made a crash landing, and some people complained about waiting up to 30 minutes for emergency crews to respond. According to investigators, the pilot at the controls of the plane said he was temporarily blinded by a flash of light right before that crash, but the source of that light has not been determined. Also, we learned that the pilot initially told flight attendants to keep everyone seated, and the evacuation did not start until 90 seconds after the crash had happened as fire spread through the cabin. Well, the hearing only lasted about 10 minutes, but there was no shortage of drama in Boston. Dzhokhar Tsarnaev appeared in court Wednesday with a bandage on his arm and signs of injuries to his face. He pleaded not guilty to 30 federal charges, including using a weapon of mass destruction to kill. And for the first time at this hearing, he also came face to face with many of the victims.
He just showed no remorse. It looked like he smirked at everybody, and he just, just had a carefree attitude, like nothing.
Prosecutors claim that Dzhokhar Tsarnaev and his older brother Tamerlan detonated those homemade bombs that killed 3 people and wounded more than 260 others at the finish line of the Boston Marathon. The Tsarnaevs are also accused of killing MIT officer Sean Collier while they were on the run. Tamerlan died during a shootout with police. And former South African President Nelson Mandela remains in critical but stable condition and is responding to treatment. That's according to current President Jacob Zuma after he visited with the anti-apartheid hero yesterday. Mandela has been struggling with a reoccurring lung infection. Zuma urged the nation to continue to hope and pray for Mandela's recovery. And coming up next on your Newsmax Now update, a new report reveals stunning and strange details about 9/11 mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, what the CIA had to do to keep him from going mad. Plus a Newsmax exclusive with Congressman Diane Black on what she thinks might be the real reason behind the White House decision to delay a key portion of Obamacare. That's next.
Meet Jim. Like many of us, Jim enjoys a busy life. Between work, family, and friends, his days zip along. And Jim has the energy to tackle almost anything. But lately, Jim's get up and go has literally taken on a new meaning. Jim's always put focus on a full night's sleep, but it seems like these days, he's up and down to go to the bathroom so many times he can barely wake up in the morning. His prostate concerns have him sad, tired, and worried. Activities that were once enjoyable now seem like a chore for Jim. His golf game is at the mercy of his bathroom schedule. Family outings are planned around it too. Jim even has difficulty going to the bathroom. He's tried so many prostate remedies he can't keep them straight, and nothing ever seems to help. Then Jim found out about Prostate Revive, the all-natural dietary supplement specifically formulated for men, targeted towards improving and sustaining normal prostate function. Prostate Revive includes 15 super ingredients never combined before, including saw palmetto extract, beta-cytosterol, pomegranate fruit extract, selenium, and other high-quality nutrients. These targeted and all-natural ingredients promote healthy urinary flow and optimal prostate health. And the best part is, Prostate Revive was developed by a renowned medical doctor. Dr. David Brownstein personally formulated Prostate Revive with one goal in mind, to promote a healthy prostate gland. Thanks to Prostate Revive, Jim's got his life back. He gets a full night's sleep every night, and his friends and his wife can't believe he's the same guy. He has his old energy back, and no one has to wait for him. He doesn't even think about his prostate concerns anymore. Visit MedicSelect.com to take back your nights and improve your quality of life with Prostate Revive.
In 2013, half of your friends, family, and neighbors may lose their jobs, all while you are robbed of 90% of your life savings, investments, and home's value. Controversial economist Robert Wiedemer, who was the only expert to predict the recession, has released a startling video with shocking evidence that the powers that be have tried to ban. But that hasn't stopped 50 million people from getting the truth. Watch it at Aftershock911.com. Aftershock911.com.
What is Lignet? Lignet is knowledge. Lignet is power. Lignet is global. Top-level officials, U.S. intelligence officers, national security advisors, foreign operatives, all reporting directly to you. What is Lignet? Lignet is confidential. Lignet is sensitive. Lignet is security. What is Lignet? They're the ones taking the world's pulse. If you're not in the know, you're not on Lignet.com. You've been briefed.
And welcome back. A new report reveals strange new details about the capture and interrogation of self-proclaimed 9/11 mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. According to the British newspaper The Telegraph, the al-Qaeda leader was allowed to redesign a vacuum.
Are you ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studios, this is the Steve Malzberg Show. Be a part of the action by calling 855-777-9660. That's 855-777-9660. Or email Steve at malzbergshow@newsmax.com. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, hour number 3, Steve Malzberg with you. In just a little while, we're going to get to analysis of the closing arguments presented by the prosecution in the George Zimmerman case. We're also going to have the latest on the student loan situation. And should the government begin the business of student loans, and where we stand? There was some action, I believe, in the Senate today on student loans specifically. We'll talk about all that. But I want to get to something here. I mentioned it in the previous hour. I talked about how my passion, sports-wise, these days are the New Jersey Devils. I had the pleasure of hosting the Devils pre- and post-game show in the 90s. I sat at the Continental Airlines Arena when the Devils won their first cup in 1995, and did a post-game show on WABC right after they won the cup for an hour and a half. We were on the air taking calls. And the following couple of years, I did the pre-game show, not the post, the pre-game show. I also did the Yankees pre and post, the Jets pre-post and half. But anyway, in 2010, the Devils signed Ilya Kovalchuk. He was a free agent. He had played with the Atlanta Thrashers, and they signed him to a 15-year, $100 million contract. Today, he has retired from hockey. Retired from the National Hockey League. I guess he could go back to Russia, where he says he wants to go and be with his family, and he could play hockey there, and I'm sure he will. He's 30 years old, and he has left behind the remaining years on the contract, which if they signed him in 2010, I guess he's got like 12 years left. $77 million. He is walking away from $77 million. He's not going to make that in Russia. It's devastating as a Devils fan, but you got to look at it from his perspective, I guess. You know, and I've often wondered, as a non-millionaire, and by the way, not every talk radio host could say that, but as a non-millionaire, I wonder sometimes. I look at entertainers, I look at athletes, and I say, okay, when is enough enough? Not that you shouldn't earn as much as you can. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying, when do you make the personal decision? Don't get me wrong. This is not about the government or Barack Obama saying you've made enough. No. When does a person take stock and say, all right, look, I could go play across the country for my family and get $10 million more, or I could stay here near my family and make $10 million less, but I'll be near my family. Now, this athlete maybe is already a millionaire. So, I say to myself sometimes, well, what difference does it make if you're going to make 30 over the next 5 years or 40 over the next 5 years? What difference does that make? Now, maybe it does. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it does to people. As a non-millionaire, maybe I can't appreciate that. We saw it recently with Dwight Howard, right? He left the Lakers. The Lakers offered him more money. He didn't want to be there. So he signed with Houston for less years, less money. I find that admirable if it's done for the right reasons or any reason. I mean, anybody who makes a choice to get out of a situation or stay in a situation, whether it's family or I don't want to work for him or I don't want to be there, turning down more money, you got to admire that. Or somebody who quits a job because they know it's detrimental to their health, and they're not millionaires, okay? And they say, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I can't take this anymore. That I really admire. Not that I suggest you do it. I'm just saying that's admirable. If someone feels it's a detriment to their health and their well-being, and they say, I don't have the money, I don't know how I'll survive, but I got to get out of here, as opposed to staying there and getting sick. Now, Kovalchuk, has already made millions and millions of dollars, and now he wants to go play in Russia. So I guess he felt it's enough. Money-wise, it's enough. So, again, while I'm heartbroken as a Devils fan, I admire the decision. Did he owe loyalty to the Devils? No, he didn't owe loyalty. They signed him. He played. If he has the ability to leave the contract and not take, and go bye-bye, then that's what he's choosing to do. Life is too short, I mean, he's 30. It would have been nice if he stuck around for another 5 years before doing this. But he made a decision. There was a lockout, and he says he decided during the lockout when he, went back home to Russia to play, that's where he wanted to be. That's where he wanted to be. A year ago, right now, and at the start of the season, which sort of started in October, I believe, of last year, there was a lockout. They didn't start playing until, January or something, if my memory serves me correctly, or maybe even February. I think February. Long story short, he got a taste of going home. He got a taste of playing back in Russia, and he left. So while I'm heartbroken and disappointed, I admire that. Leaving 7, but I don't know if there's another athlete in the world who has ever walked away from almost $80 million that was guaranteed him. All he had to do is show up and play. If he got hurt, he gets paid. So that's really something. Then there's the case of Ode Abushi. Now, we're going to have much, much more on Ode Abushi. But shame on you, New York Jets, in my opinion. Shame on you. Ode Abushi, according to Joe Kaufman at Front Page Magazine, leads a double life. On one hand, he's an American football player with professional-level athletic skills. On the other, he's a fundamentalist Muslim with radical associations and a heritage that pushes him towards a destructive world of violence and hate, according to this story. When the Jets chose Ode Abushi with the 8th pick of the 5th round of the April 2013 NFL Draft, he was the 141st pick overall. They knew it was getting an elite player who could wreak havoc on the field. Offensive lineman, one of the best in the draft, 6'5", 310 pounds. But although Abushi was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, he refers to himself as a Palestinian American. His parents both came to the U.S. from the Middle East in a town in the West Bank. And one longtime friend of the family is a woman named Linda Sorsauer, who is described here as a rabid anti-Israel activist who has Hamas-related family serving prison sentences in Israel and has herself been questioned by U.S. authorities. Less than a year ago, she posted on her Twitter account, "Nothing is creepier than Zionism," and so on and so forth. So we're going to get more involved with finding out more about this. When Abushi was chosen by the Jets in the draft, Sarsauer used that same Twitter account that she placed her fanatic missives to post 24 messages about it. And she also tweeted photos of herself with Abushi. So we will investigate just how closely tied to this Israel-hating, Hamas-tied family the draft pick of the New York Jets is. And I think this is a question that needs to be answered, that should be answered, should be addressed. Absolutely. And not only are you playing in the NFL, you're playing for New York fans. And dare I say, New York fans might be more prone to being much more pro-Israel than pro-Palestinian, and certainly than pro-Hamas, which the U.S. considers a terrorist group. Now, I do not know, nor does it say here, if Odeh Abushi has any ties or offered any support from a verbal standpoint to Hamas. I do not know that. I will read more of this piece, and we will have the author of this piece, Joe Kaufman, on. Joe Kaufman's actually running for Congress, so we'll talk to him about this. But this is something that we should keep an eye on, most definitely. All right, folks, still a lot ahead in this hour. Oh, by the way, Derek Jeter. Derek Jeter returned, played for the first time this year. Remember, he broke his ankle in the ALCS last year. He went 1 for 4 and with an RBI in his season debut for the Yankees. He had been rehabbing the ankle right along, and then had to leave before the end of the game with tightness in his quad. And he will undergo an MRI for tightness in his quad. So celebration at Yankee Stadium that the Yankees beat the Royals and that Derek Jeter played, but Derek Jeter may not be able to play. I don't know. We'll have to see what the MRI shows, I would guess. When we come back, we go from Alexei Ilya Kovalchuk and the Jets and Derek Jeter to student loans. Where else but on the Steve Malzberg Show?
The Steve Malzberg Show.
This is a referral service. Calls will be routed to an independent referral insurance agency.
Do you know the #1 cause of bankruptcy? No, it's not losing your job or running up credit card debt. It's not even divorce. It's medical costs. If you and your family don't have health insurance, just one serious illness or accident could be financially devastating. But now there's good news, really good news. A health insurance hotline has been established to provide health insurance for all Americans, even uninsured Americans with pre-existing conditions. Now anyone can get health insurance even if you have a pre-existing medical condition. I repeat, now anyone can get health insurance coverage. Call now for a free no-obligation quote on affordable health plans available to you. Again, this is a free hotline for anyone, even if you have pre-existing conditions. Protect you and your family from sudden unexpected medical costs. Call the free health insurance hotline right now at 1-800-910-3470. That's 1-800-910-3470. Call 1-800-910-3470.
Do you owe the IRS? Do you have unfiled tax returns? Have you received a wage garnishment or bank levy? Maybe a lien has been filed against you. OMG Tax can help you with all your IRS tax problems. Don't wait another second. Take action now. Call my team at OMG Tax. Honest and professional, we don't make false promises. If you owe back taxes, or if the IRS is garnishing your paycheck, you need help now. OMG Tax can help you get your life back to normal. If you're serious about handling your tax matter, call OMG Tax now and get the peace of mind you deserve. Don't let the IRS take your next paycheck. Stop waiting and call our team at OMG Tax. OMG Tax has a straightforward, no-nonsense approach and has helped many Americans resolve their IRS nightmare. Call OMG Tax now.
Call 1-800-255-6485. That's 1-800-255-6485. 800-255-6485.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really?
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-908-1254, 800-908-1254.
Do you have a motorized wheelchair or scooter that needs repairs and you don't know where to turn? Then call the experts at Precision Repair Network. They are the specialists in repairing all makes and models of motorized wheelchairs and scooters. You can call 24/7 and they will come to you anywhere in the United States. They'll give you a loaner to use until they return yours in perfect condition. And your repairs may be covered by your Medicare or your private insurance, so there is little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. If your wheelchair or scooter needs repairs, call this special hotline now and learn how you can get door-to-door service on your repairs at little or no cost to you. Precision Repair Network. They'll get you moving again. Operators are ready to take your call right now. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. 800-978-4813. That's 800-978-4813.
Sure, Steve might be a bit of a hypochondriac, but he never gets sick of breaking news. This is the Steve Malzberg Show. Call Steve at 1-855-777-9660. That's 1-855-777-9660. Here's Steve.
All right, folks, a bipartisan group of senators today have reached a tentative deal to help students facing the doubling of interest rates on government-backed student loans. This according to aides close to the deal. The interest rates on subsidized loans doubled on July 1st because of congressional inaction. They say about 7 million students were affected. This deal would change rates for all government-backed student loans. Joining us now is Neil McCluskey. He's Ph.D., Associate Director at the Center for Educational Freedom. Hello, sir.
Hello?
Hello, Neil.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Now I can.
Oh, good.
Technology is amazing. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Okay, I'm good. All right. So I don't know if you heard me that there's appears to be a bipartisan deal in the Senate with regard to rolling back the interest rates for those government-backed student loans. You're of the opinion that it might be a good thing, or the rate hike that took place was a good thing, I guess, or might be a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a good thing. Either way, it's going to be very small impact. So there's been outsized wailing and gnashing of teeth over the rising of this interest rate. But you have to remember, first of all, this is not retroactive. So if you're, say, going into your senior year in college, this won't apply to any of the loans you've taken out the previous 3 years. It's only for new loans, and it's only for subsidized loans, which, using federal parlance, that's just one subset of the loans. And I calculated that if you have to take a year of loans at 6.8% versus 3.4%, it's only going to cost you about $6 more per month. So this isn't huge, but the point is college costs and prices have skyrocketed for decades, beyond even health care. And the reason for it is that people pay with other people's money, mainly through the federal government, heavily subsidized loans, federal grants, and things like that. So the more people pay with their own money, the better it is to get rational pricing.
Right. So you're saying basically it's consumer demand, and as long as consumer could get the credit and the colleges could raise their prices and the students or the parents, whomever, could get these loans and they'll they'll pay any price, basically, because they have a mixture of financial aid, which a lot of which, as you point out, is government-backed, and you and I are paying for in the long run. So if they're forced to pay more, they'll be better shoppers, and colleges will be forced to rein in prices and what they charge the students, correct?
Yeah, ultimately, you're much more likely to look for to buy an efficient product of service if you're paying with your own money than if you're paying with money you've gotten from other people, especially if it's money that didn't voluntarily come from those other people, like a true private loan,
right,
or somebody giving you the money who's a friend of yours or something like that. You'll overconsume if someone else will pay for it.
Well, that makes sense. So why is government involved in this at all? And why was so much made and to this day is still being made about the increase, which, as you point out, is minuscule?
Yeah, well, government is involved, I think probably initially because they were really trying to help the lowest income people afford college. But very quickly, and probably even from the beginning, but, different people probably had different motives in Washington, but really from the beginning, it was probably driven, and clearly is driven now, primarily by political interests. And what's in the interest of politicians is to give out as much of other people's money as they can to people who want to go to college or think they may want to go to college or have gone to college, because then you're essentially buying their votes. They think this guy really cares, look at the money he's giving me. And so I think it's mainly political gain that drives it. No doubt, there are still people who think, well, we need to supply this money to make college affordable. But I really think anybody who deals with this issue in Congress who knows the basic data can see very clearly that the main effect of this is just to pump up prices to ridiculous levels.
Yeah, well, how does the government, now that it's in it to this extent, how do they, let me put it this way, how do they gracefully back out of it so that it doesn't send the system into chaos?
Yeah, so the good news, such as it is on this, is that federal student aid has morphed into all sorts of different programs geared at all sorts of different people, including upper middle class and even upper, like rich people. I mean, if you talk about the various tax credit programs and things like that that encourage you to spend money on higher ed, most of those are really geared toward upper income people. So you could phase this out in a very rational way. You start by getting rid of those tax credits, which are hugely skewed to the well-to-do. You get rid of what's called unsubsidized loans, but are really subsidized because they're still federal loans that have a taxpayer backing to them so they can have a low interest rate. You get rid of those unsubsidized, quote-unquote unsubsidized loans, because it doesn't matter what you earn. You can qualify for those.
Right.
There's no reason we should be giving loans to people who don't need them. And then you'll be reduced to subsidized loans and basically Pell Grants. I'd say that you should even get rid of Pell Grants. And if you really need to give loans to or aid to low-income people, their biggest problem is they don't have collateral. So then, okay, the federal government gives them a loan, but they get paid back. Because remember, the main reason we send people to college is so they can greatly increase their earning potential. There's no reason they should get free money from taxpayers to do that.
Right. No, I couldn't agree more. We got 20 seconds. What's the likelihood that your scenario will ever play out in our lifetime?
Well, it's probably not great, except there is clearly bipartisan support, at least among bipartisan policy wonks, that we should start getting rid of the things like these tax credits, tax deductions. And so people are, I think, starting to focus on how truly wasteful this is. We probably won't get where I want to go.
Right, I hear you.
But we will move in that direction.
Neil, thank you. Neil McCluskey, Associate Director at the Center for Educational Freedom at the Cato Institute. Steve Malzberg with you. We're going to talk to a very special young lady when we come back on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
If you need to lose weight and would like to get paid for it, that's right, I said get paid to lose weight. Just listen to the following announcement. The makers of GCE Green Coffee Bean Weight Loss are looking for real testimonials from real people and will pay you per pound to meet or exceed your weight loss goal. Until now, the secrets of green coffee's fat-burning power has been limited, but thanks to Dr. Oz, the secret is out. And now, this authentic green coffee bean fat burner is available in easy-to-take tablets. There are no expensive meals to buy or strenuous workouts. Simply take one tablet before each meal and record your progress. Only the first 200 callers are guaranteed to be accepted into the program. So if you're serious about losing extra weight and want to earn extra cash for fitting into your skinny jeans again, call 800-383-9230 now. Call 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230. Space is limited, so hurry and secure your spot today. 800-383-9230. Some conditions apply. 800-383-9230. 800-383-9230.
Newsmax Magazine is proud to present a special tribute to our 40th president, Ronald Reagan. It's a very special documentary and commemorative issue of Newsmax Magazine celebrating the centennial of President Reagan's birth. First, here's a video clip from the award-winning documentary, Rendezvous with Destiny.
We're in the midst of a springtime of hope for America.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Impulses of an evil empire.
Tear down this wall.
I believe that together we can keep this rendezvous with destiny.
In the next several minutes, you will learn things about President Ronald Reagan that you've never seen, heard, or read before. Welcome to today's special Newsmax event celebrating the life and legacy of President Reagan. During this historic presentation, we will commemorate President Reagan's storied life. We'll revisit his 2 terms in office and recollect his proudest achievements and greatest challenges. Ronald Reagan's life reads like a fairy tale of success stories. He was an accomplished athlete, an honored veteran, a famous actor, the governor of California, and of course, our nation's 40th president.
He called himself a citizen politician and only entered politics when he warned government was gaining too much power. By then he was age 54, with a successful career behind him. Twice elected President of the United States, Ronald Wilson Reagan was a contradiction to some. Once a Democrat, then a Republican. A champion of smaller government whose own government grew. A fiscal conservative who failed to balance the budget. His critics mistook his affability for weakness, but behind the smile and the charm existed an extraordinary leader with unique skills and bold and revolutionary ideas.
We only had time to share just a few of the top defining moments in Ronald Reagan's presidency, but you'll get to see them all in Rendezvous with Destiny. By the way, the president's close relationship with the Pope is especially fascinating. You'll also learn how dealing with an alcoholic father helped shape Reagan's ability to negotiate. And if you ever wondered what the leader of the free world likes to get for the holidays, well, you'll find that out as well. So let's review today in this free offer. We are sending you a copy of Ronald Reagan, Rendezvous with Destiny, and the collector's limited edition of our issue commemorating the 100th anniversary of President Reagan's birth.
Right now, when you subscribe to Newsmax Magazine, you can own both the DVD and receive the special Reagan 100th Birthday Commemorative Edition. That's $25 in bonus gifts when you subscribe. Go to newsmax.com/Reagan13 to subscribe today. Join the millions who read Newsmax Magazine every month.
This is not your typical Screamfest talk show.
No.
This is the next generation of talk radio. Here is Steve Malzberg.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Steve Malzberg Show. I'm going to ask you in advance here to open your heart and your generosity because I know you're going to be moved to do so by our next guest for a very, very good cause. We welcome in Cindy Donald of Marietta, Georgia. And by the way, Cindy, welcome to the show. We are heard not only on XM and on Newsmax.com, but also on the News Talk 1160 down in Atlanta, the talk of the town. So you're booming into your home area. So welcome. I appreciate you coming on, Cindy. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me on.
It's my pleasure. We're talking to Cindy Donald. And Cindy is a former cheerleader who suffered a tragic accident and was left paralyzed from the neck down. And that was back in 2005, I guess. And you're what now, 29 years old, Cindy?
Yeah, about to turn 30 in a couple weeks.
Wow. Well, happy birthday in advance.
Thank you.
I've been there and done that a long time ago, and it's no big deal. So don't worry about it. It's just a number. But you have such an inspirational story. And your story is inspirational on two levels that stick out to me immediately. First of all, your own perseverance, your own road to recovery, physically as much as possible and mentally. But the way you got there and what has helped you along and what you have made your life's work now and your life's cause, which has been so intertwined with that mental and physical recovery, and that is the foundation and Dreams of Recovery and you wanting to help others. Talk about how that all came about. I know it came on very early after your accident, and it's just gotten stronger ever since.
Yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand, like my personal recovery and as well as helping others makes me feel, a sense of accomplishment and a purpose in my life. Before I got hurt, I was a junior in college and going to school for business management, just kind of, didn't really know what my purpose was in life. And after I got hurt, I met a lot of the community members, Bobby Cox and Freddie Gonzalez from the Atlanta Braves and U.S. Senator Johnny Isaacson, and they started doing fundraisers for me personally to do therapy because the financial expenses, once you get hurt, you're having to deal with all the emotions of being hurt, and you're not really thinking like, okay, I've got to get my house modified, I've got to, nursing expenses now, I've got all these added expenses, and now I can't work. So the community really banded together and started helping me raise money to do my own personal therapy. And the therapy is $100 an hour, and it's not covered by insurance. And they recommend that you do 9 hours a week.
Wow.
So it's about $4,000 a month
Yeah.
on top of everything else you're faced with. And the community was just so great to me and started raising money for, like I said, me personally. And I was very fortunate. I received a settlement through my accident. And before I got my settlement, I was watching my friends. We would go to therapy together, and I would watch them run out of money and not be able to continue the therapy that they needed so badly. And before I turned our fundraising into a 501c3 and Dreams of Recovery Foundation, we raised $30,000 at one of our events. And I went to Bobby Cox and Freddie Gonzalez and this group of guys I call the Bagel Boys, which is just a group of great men that helped me raise money in the beginning and, were a really big part of starting the foundation. And I asked them if I could split the money with my friend because, I could do a few months of therapy by myself, or we could split it and we could do the therapy together. And they said, absolutely, I could split the money. So that was what inspired the 501c3 and to start the foundation, is because I would watch my friends run out of money and not be able to do the therapy. And more so than just being able to walk again or have that, hope and cure, the therapy is so desperately needed just to prevent secondary complications. It's just like an able-bodied person needing to work out.
Sure.
We need this therapy, and it's just so expensive. And, most people out there aren't fortunate enough to get a settlement or to be able to participate in these types of activities. And, it ruins their hope and their ambition. They don't feel like, if they can't do therapy, then they can't progress and they can't, proceed.
No,
so,
and it seems very unfair that at least to some extent that therapy is not covered. So talk about how we got to Cindy's walks for recovery with the Braves and their manager Freddie Gonzalez.
Well, Freddie has been a huge supporter of me and the foundation, like I said, from the very beginning. And we just kind of wanted to capitalize on that relationship with the Braves because we didn't realize the need that's out there. There's currently 400,000 people living in the United States with paralysis, and there's 12,000 each year to that. And we've got 40 people on our waiting list. And it's not like we even advertise, for people to come apply. I mean, people just apply from hearing about us from Christopher Reeves or Kennedy Krieger, wherever they get hurt. And we've got such a massive waiting list that, you know, we really went to the Braves and said, we need your support because we've got to raise, you know, a lot of money because these people aren't just, you know, they're not just files sitting in my office. You know, they're actual people that really need this help and really need the therapy. And that's one of my favorite parts of what I do is being able to call somebody and tell them, you know, you are awarded the grant for therapy. Or if they live in like a rural area and they can't get to a facility to go to therapy, we'll buy them like a SES bike, which is a functional electrical stimulation bike.
That is awesome, Cindy. And so the deal here is that Braves fans can donate a dollar amount that they would donate for each time a member of the Braves team draws a walk in a game?
Right. You can go online to www.dreamsofrecovery.org, and it says Cindy's Walks for Recovery. And individuals can pledge anywhere from 10 cents to $1 to $2, however much they would like, per walk drawn by the Atlanta Braves in the regular season. And in 2012, there was 567 walks. And so if someone does 10 cents a walk, it's only $56.70
right.
for the whole season. And if we even got 100 people to do $1 walk, that would give us $567,000, and that would cover our entire waiting list. So it's, you know, and that would be $567, you know, donated from 100 people. And if we could accomplish that, that would take care of our whole entire waiting list, and it would be a huge accomplishment. And would, you know, that's our really.
That is amazing. Okay, so give the website again where people could come and or go and donate and become involved in this.
It's dreamsofrecovery.org.
Okay, great.
And I would greatly appreciate, and I speak on behalf of everybody, you know, in my file cabinet that would really, really appreciate any, you know, dollar amount, cents you can donate, just to try and help out and make our cause a success.
Well, Cindy, you are an inspiration to everybody listening, and I really thank you for what you're doing, and you know, I express nothing but great admiration, and I hope that your organization and your foundation becomes more successful than ever. And give my regards to my good old friend Rick Cerrone.
I will. Great. Thanks so much.
All right. You take care, Cindy.
All right. I appreciate everything.
Bye-bye. Cindy Donald, ladies and gentlemen. Former cheerleader, suffered a tragic accident and was been paralyzed from the neck down, and has decided to use her life and her relationship with the baseball team, the Atlanta Braves, and their manager, and Freddie Gonzalez and others, to help make the lives of others who are in her position that don't have her resources, make those lives better, give those lives hope. And this is what her life is all about now. And I just found it to be such a moving, motivational, wonderful, beautiful story. And I urge everyone to go to dreamsofrecovery.org and contribute whatever you could contribute. And you know, take a look at yourself in the mirror. And when you think about your problems, understand that they're bad, but they could be a lot worse. Okay? And you have a way to help those who do have problems that are a lot worse. All right, when we come back, we're going to switch gears and talk about the Zimmerman trial, the prosecution presenting their closing arguments, part one today. Tomorrow the defense goes, and we'll speak to our friend Adam Thompson, Florida, New York defense attorney, right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.
The Steve Malzberg Show.
Attention hip implant patients. Are you in constant pain? Have you received a letter from your doctor about your implant? Have you had or need a revision surgery? Do you have high levels of metal, chromium, or cobalt in your blood? Over 90,000 hip implant devices have been recalled due to defects and failures resulting in revision or replacement surgery. If you have a recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530 to see if your implant is affected by the recalls. If you or a loved one has a defective or recalled hip implant, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-460-1530. That's 800-460-1530. 800-460-1530. Protect your legal rights today. Call 800-460-1530. This is an advertisement, not valid in all states. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. iLawsuit.com is an advertising group that represents lawyers advertising their services and is a free matching service for consumers. It is not a law firm or lawyer referral service.
If you or someone you love is struggling with addiction to alcohol or drugs, then you must listen to this message because there is hope. No matter what addiction you or your loved one is coping with, you are just one phone call away from real help. Recovery Hotline makes the healing process simple and affordable by matching people to fully certified and experienced inpatient facilities that are right for their personal situations. Call 800-668-1286 now. Don't wait another day. Money does not have to be an issue. Most insurance is accepted. Just call 800-668-1286 today. Recovery Hotline's mission is to help you or someone you love begin the healing process and get back a healthy and sober life. And we can even help with family interventions and travel arrangements. One phone call is all it takes to get back the life you or your loved one deserves. The call is free. The help is real. Call 800-668-1286. That's 800-668-1286. 800-668-1286. Again, 800-668-1286.
You've heard the allegations on the news, and during the big game, pro football players have been using deer antler velvet to get a competitive edge. Banned at the London Games for its performance-enhancing qualities. Forbidden in major sports leagues for being an unfair advantage to athletes. Deer antler velvet is now in stock and available to try for free for a limited time only. Athletes have been using it for years for increased strength, increased endurance, muscle mass stress reduction, and yes, greatly enhanced libido. Everyone's talking about this miracle substance so powerful, it's being banned by professional sports organizations, but for a limited time, it's being made available to the general public. Best of all, you can try it for free by calling 800-678-5153. That's right, get Superior Velvet for free. If you're looking to boost your performance on the field and between the sheets, get the most powerful, proven product used by athletes for years now for free. Claim your free bottle today by calling 800-678-5153. That's 800-678-5153. Again, 800-678-5153.
Guys, you've heard about Ageless Male, the natural supplement that helps boost testosterone levels within normal, healthy ranges. But now, the best testosterone product is even better. New and improved Ageless Male can help you feel more like you used to in your active life and in your romantic life. Because our upgraded formula has been clinically shown to increase your drive, desire, and performance. That's right, guys. Ageless Male has been clinically shown to boost performance. Cancel your plans this weekend. You're staying in. If you're ready to recapture the drive from your youth, now is the time to try Ageless Male because it's available risk-free. But you must call now. Just call 1-800-460-9790. Be the guy you used to be. Just call 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790. 1-800-460-9790.
Here's today's silver shortage update from Lear Capital.
Reports keep coming. The shortage is growing. Twice already this year, the U.S. Mint has run out. Last time this happened, the silver price jumped 40%. It's time to take advantage with this special offer from Lear Capital.
For a limited time, buy 20 new silver polar bear coins and get one free. The only 1.5-ounce coin on the market. It's minted with the finest silver, carries a government guarantee, and is eligible for IRAs. The silver polar bear is available exclusively from Lear Capital. But don't wait. Silver supplies are shrinking and availability is not guaranteed. This offer is limited to a minimum purchase of $5,000. Call right now. 800-634-0482. 800-634-0482. Call Lear Capital now. 800-634-0482.
Microphones hot. Satellite link established. Studio lights illuminated. Cameras rolling. Audio and video encoders firing ones and zeros. Internet stream, streaming. The most technology advanced radio show is on the air. Here's the captain of this enterprise, Steve Malzberg.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Steve Malzberg with you. Final segment of today's show. Just saying to Will, how could tomorrow be Friday? How could today be Thursday? How could it be July 11th? I'm telling you, August, September, October. Okay, we're 3 months from Halloween, 4 months from Thanksgiving, and 5 months from Christmas. It's crazy. I tell you, crazy. Okay, joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Adam Thompson, defense attorney, our friend. Hello, Adam. How are you? Hi, Adam.
Hey, Steve. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for taking the time to be with us today. Closing arguments. So we'll get to everything else that happened in court. But closing arguments by the prosecution. Phase one, of course, defense goes tomorrow. Then the prosecution gets to finish up. Then it goes to the jury. Let me ask you this. Yesterday, we saw the prosecution use that dummy and bring up to the jury that, hey, Trayvon Martin might have been on top. You know, and now today they said, yeah, Trayvon Martin might have slugged George Zimmerman in the face at first in a fight for the gun. So all of a sudden, you know, after the whole premise is that Trayvon was on the bottom screaming for help and that George Zimmerman attacked Trayvon Martin, hunted him down. Now, yesterday and in closing arguments today, respectively, they present what I just said to you, the possibility that Trayvon was on top, and that Trayvon might have hit him first in the face, going for the gun. So, is the defense going to make mincemeat out of that tomorrow?
The defense is going to crucify them. Let me tell you, that's like going to the movies and you're going in to see Star Wars and instead you see Jurassic Park with dinosaurs. You can't change your theory of the case so dramatically where it counteracts and counterspeaks everything that you initially talked about in your opening argument. How do you go from one to the other? I mean, listen, like I said from ages ago when we first spoke about this, they're not going to get a conviction on murder 2. They're not going to get a conviction on manslaughter. No matter what they do, listen, Humpty Dumpty fell and broke. No matter what they do, they can't put the pieces back together. Changing the stories around, the theories, whatever they're going to try to do at this point to make it fit, too little, too late, and the jury is going to see through all of that after the defense closing.
All right. Well, I hope you're right. I don't understand why. I mean, I guess they realized, and you tell me, I'm just putting forth a theory, a non-legal theory, just an opinion, that they realized they were in trouble. They realized that the preponderance of evidence did not back up what they had claimed in their opening arguments, and that the jury wasn't going to buy if they said, well, now we've proven that Trayvon Martin was on the bottom screaming for help and he was hunted down, and so they had to change their story. I mean, is that the explanation?
That's the best they can come up with. They have to have something to say. So when there's nothing else to say, you go with what the facts on the table are. I mean, it's really embarrassing for them because think about it. They did a very bold opening. Everything looked good for them. Because remember, after the openings, you heard a knock-knock joke from the defense, which was a disaster.
Right.
And you heard this impassioned, emotional opening from the prosecution.
And by the way, all we heard was the prosecutor looked like Gregory Peck, and the women on the jury just couldn't take their eyes off of him. This case was over right now.
That was it. And then what happens? Well, openings are nice, but they're not evidence. It's just, the lawyers anticipating what they think will happen at the trial. It's a lot of flash and dash sometimes and some theatrics and emotions. But when it comes time to the actual case, when you're presenting the evidence, the testimony, the tangible things you could touch and feel, DNA results, experts, that's the nitty-gritty. And what happened? When they got to that part of the case, it collapsed real fast. It was a mudslide that just picked up steam.
All right. They did attack, though, in their closing arguments, George Zimmerman as a liar, as a wannabe cop who knew he had a gun and was going to take care of this on his own, who, followed him and lied and lied and lied and changed his story and lied. And yet, the defense comes back and says, well, you heard from expert witnesses saying that the discrepancies in the stories are normal. They were nominal. They were not out of the ordinary. I just think everything that was said today presented in such a, I don't know, I guess a typical prosecuting way, can be the defense with Mark O'Mara at the helm in a calm, as is his demeanor, in a calm manner, which appeals to the all-female jury, could just go point by point and dispute every one of those claims.
Absolutely. Listen, they could take the timeline, go through it to show how it fits their case. They could go through the main witness's testimony, and it supports the contentions of self-defense and Zimmerman's versions and all the different statements that he gave. But I think, and I don't know what they're going to do yet, but if it was me, doing this for 25 years, I'm a very aggressive attorney, I would basically make a flow chart of the opening statement of the prosecutor and say, remember when this case started?
Right.
The prosecutor made certain promises to you. This is what he told you this case was going to be about. And this is what he told you the evidence was going to show. And did they deliver? Did these things come to fruition? And the answer is no. Did they tell you in an opening argument that their two main police officers were going to say they found Zimmerman credible and they believed him? No. Did they tell you how their expert who was going to talk about the medical autopsy was incompetent and didn't remember zero? He put up a goose egg with his own hand and went zero. I don't remember a thing.
Right.
When you go through all of this, and then let alone the big one at the end, and here's the finale. Let's, strike up the orchestra music for the grand finale, and we're going to change our theory at the end from Trayvon Martin was on the bottom screaming for help, getting assaulted and then shot, to guess what? He's on top of Zimmerman now, maybe hitting him and doing a ground and pound, but then something happened. Really? Really? You're changing it like that? Come on.
We're talking to Adam Thompson. We only have 3 minutes left, so I'm going to ask you 2 questions. One, Rachel Gentile, I believe the prosecution invoked Martin Luther King about, don't go by her race or whatever, go by, and he admitted she lied on oath under oath in the past. You know what I'd say if I'm O'Mara? All right, believe her. Believe her when she said that Trayvon Martin viewed him as a crazy-ass cracker. Not as some guy he had to get away from, but as in a hostile, racially hostile manner.
There's two sides to every coin, and I'm sure they're going to bring that out. But I would almost attack that to say to inject race. I found that personally to be very offensive, that he's quoting from one of the greatest speeches ever gave.
Oh, absolutely.
And applying it to Rachel Gentile, who was a disaster on the witness stand and had no credibility, and basically saying, she was pounded upon by the defense because it's a race issue. But don't look at her for that. I have a dream that all witnesses will be treated equally and all witnesses will be based on their testimony, the substance, not how they present.
Outrageous.
And that wasn't what happened at all here. The defense attorney is representing someone whose life is on the line. That's their job. And they need to cross-examine every witness as intensely as possible.
And they did it with
everyone would want.
And they did it with respect. It was her who was so disrespectful. The judge should have told her to change or face contempt. All right, now, manslaughter. How does this defense attorney convince the jury that you can't settle for manslaughter? It's not an option. Don't do it, because you can't tell him he'd spend 30 years in jail if you convict him on that. How do you get around it? How do you tell him?
Well, depending on who your defense lawyer is, someone might blurt out, if you convict him on any count, he's going away for the rest of his life. The prosecutor will object. The judge, probably not wanting a mistrial, will probably give a curative instruction saying, disregard that you heard that. Sentence plays no part in your outcome in this case. That's all as an aside. If you have a real aggressive defense lawyer, they might take that risk, but it could lead to a mistrial. But how do you get around the manslaughter? You basically got to tell them you're here to make a decision on the case that's based on the evidence. And if you believe that George Zimmerman was defending himself, that in his subjective mind he thought he risked imminent fear of harm or death at the hands of Trayvon Martin, and that the only force he can use equal to what was being done to him was to use his firearm to save
then
his
you got
own life.
You got to say not guilty. Adam, I got to say I'm out of time. I hope we could get a chance to chat tomorrow and down the road. Thank you, Adam Thompson, ladies and gentlemen.
You got it. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you. I love his passion. I love his passion. I'm sure he's a great defense attorney because of it too. All right. We'll do this again tomorrow, God willing, and we're going to have an interesting show, the defense with its case on the